All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Week in Review. And hopefully we have a more smooth Week in Review this week than we did last week. I also just realized that my camera is still adjusted for last night's date night, where I got to get wider because the wife's on here with me. So it's got to be a wider screen. But you know what? It's going to drive me crazy. It did last week. It's going to drive me crazy. Adjustment incoming. All right, I have no idea why this camera, like when I zoom in, it automatically zooms itself back out, and so I have no idea. No, Spotzl, I'm definitely not saying that Christy is fat. I'm just saying it's wider than me. Oh, man. And now my mic is also loose here, and this is just not a very effective start to the day. And what in the hell is going on? There we go. You think I would have done a pre-show check before we went live, but I did not. So here we are. All right, guys. Thanks again for being here. Smash that thumb if you have not done so yet, and let's go ahead and jump into the news for the week. And there has been. There's quite a few updates for a lot of stories, and we'll get to some of those. Let's jump out here. New Jersey, we saw this last weekend. This kind of really went down after last week's Week in Review, and last week was a shit show, right? We had to do it 3 separate times. We had problems with Rumble. We ended up doing 3 separate shows on it, and eventually got it figured out. But, here we go. So protest over cruel conditions at New Jersey's ICE facility drew counter protests and curfew. We do have an update on this. So let's go ahead and get into this clip here of Mickey Sherrill, the New Jersey governor, telling us what we've known for quite some time. But it's good to hear it coming from a Democrat's voice.
We know that people from outside the state have been interfering in the protests and escalating them. 5 of the 6 people arrested last night by state police were from outside New Jersey. And some national extremist groups have become involved in the protest here today. To the people coming from out of state to create chaos and dangerous situations, you should not be here. We know that
No way. No, you mean these things aren't organic? It's not the people of New Jersey rising up to protest this in their own home state? No way. Come on. I mean, it's good to hear, that being acknowledged. These are, we all know, these are NGOs. And I think, last week, we had Alpha on and we were talking about this and on Badlands Daily. And, Alpha was saying, I think that they've already begun to map out these. We both know they've already begun to map out these networks. And, him and Josh are, under the belief that this here is further mapping. And I can totally get behind that. This is a very well-funded, well-orchestrated, well-resourced event that's going on. And, one of the videos I played this week, somebody was able to infiltrate the back end of this, and they were able to get into the back and see all the stuff that's laid out, the resources, the food, the supplies, water and lasagna. At one point, the guy's like, oh, there's lasagna, and it is very well funded, very well resourced. this is kind of an interesting clip right here. So this truck driver at the end, God bless him, man. He's like, enough is enough. He gets out of his truck, starts screaming at these protesters. But leading up to it, all right, I want you to watch this, and you'll see, this woman here in the yellow and red. She's wearing a vest, and it's one of those like marker vests, and it looks to have an NGO logo on the back, and you can see that she is being infiltrated. Like her organization, or at least the aspect of it that she is running right there on the ground, is being infiltrated. And you'll notice there's kind of some kinetic back and forth between the factions, right? Both sides pushing back against their own quote unquote side. And again, I pointed this out during the week. You'll notice that the people that are saying, hey, let's just protest ICE, okay? We don't have to stop traffic and interfere with all the normal citizens and try and destroy everything. Let's just focus on protesting ICE, which is admirable, I guess, if that's their thing. I think it's absolutely retarded. But you can see the divide. Now watch this. Okay, so there's the NGO lady right there on the left. She'll come back into the picture here in just a second.
These guys are not
there. She is.
I understand that, and that's why we're here. But these people are working. They have families too. We've been letting cars go through here all day long. Right.
What does that say? Let me go back and see if we can get a El something Unido, Atlantic City y Pueblos Cercanos. And it's got the little fist, so clearly a, communist organization. You can't read the rest of it, unfortunately.
Right. These people are working. And guess who's been letting you've been letting through also.
Now notice, again, the people that are trying to just subvert everything and shut down everything are the people like this guy here with the full-on mask, this guy here, full-on mask. And you'll notice that any of the people that are like, hey, we need to shut everything down. Don't just protest the people over there. We need to destroy this entire area. They're the ones that are fully masked, won't show anything. Everybody else is kind of open. They're like, hey, we're just here to protest First Amendment rights. Okay, fair enough. Even this guy here, I believe, like at one point he shows his face a little bit and he sees immediately that he's on camera and he panics and covers his face.
I'm not afraid of anything.
Right here, right here.
Do you want to
Wait.
Do you want to stop them? This is not stopping us. That's ICE over
Right there. Nope, still not yet.
I know he's worried, but you guys gotta not protest and come onto other people's lands. You gotta think about what you do and how you represent the people that are there. Watch and listen, because this is not the goal. Watch them. Now, watch them. Come with me, I'll guide you through. Come on. I get what you
Fucking guy in a scooter. Right here. Here's where he does it.
I get it. But just think about what we're doing right now. Logically. Class people just like us. What the fuck do you actually know about theory if you're not here for the working class? Okay? This is
They're having, what the F do you know about theory if you're not here for the working class? They're having a debate over who's more communist than the other.
class people just like us. Those are the working class traitors, not them. These are not the working class traitors. They fucking are.
Working class traitors.
Don't I get locked up? What am I doing? Am I bothering y'all?
This dude's fire right here, man. This guy on the right's like, I don't know what to do. I've got a black, blue-collared worker that's screaming at me, and I'm supposed to be blocking him from going about doing his job and probably trying to, looks like late at night, trying to get home to his family after working a tough job. I mean, being a garbage man cannot be a fun job. And this guy on the right is like, I don't know how to handle this situation. It's not you, man. It's not you. Okay, I tried.
What's wrong with y'all, man? Come on, man.
This guy just had enough, man. He broke. He's like, fuck this. I'm out. I'm going to get down there. If I was doing what you guys were doing, I'd go to jail. I'd go to jail. What are you guys doing? Just trying to go and... What the fuck up? Yeah, what the fuck up? Oh, man. All right. So there it is. We do have some updates on this, so we'll get into those updates. Oh, there was this guy, Todd Blanche, acting attorney general, now nominated to be the actual attorney general. This guy here, this is why ICE is wearing face masks. This is why they're protecting their identities. And it sucks. I don't think that law enforcement should generally do that, at least in your normal everyday police officers. But these guys are dealing with a lot of shit right now. And, influence networks and NGO networks that are directly attacking them and being funded directly to attack them. And this guy says the quiet part out loud. He threatens the ICE, not just the ICE agent, but his entire family.
Children, your wife, all dead. Touch it, my boy. I have your face, mother. You're dead. You're dead. Your children.
Yeah, so Todd Blanche says, we're going to go after that guy, and then he posts up on X. I told you the FBI just arrested the man who threatened to kill ICE officers and their families. Their kids, your kids, they're all dead. We're going to kill them all. So Just the News had this story out this morning, and this is where we get the kind of an update here. Democrat senator has been funding the left-wing group behind anti-ICE protests and the mass unrest strategy. None other than Senator Chris Murphy, I believe he's from Connecticut, has funded a prominent left-wing nonprofit that has been at the center of highly organized, quote-unquote, mass mobilization, anti-ICE protests around the country. Murphy's newly rebranded political action committee, American Mobilization, donated $100,000 last year to Indivisible, a progressive organization formed in the wake of Trump's first election in 2016 and dedicated to resisting the Trump agenda. Why are political action committees donating to NGOs that are essentially de facto Gladio-esque type groups that are orchestrating and instigating color revolutions across the country? Why is a political action committee allowed to? We need to go back. I mean, we seriously need to go back and reevaluate Citizens United, folks. We really desperately need to go back and reevaluate Citizens United and how we allowed political action committees and massive amounts of money being dumped into these organizations, how we allowed this to happen. Basically saying that corporations have the same rights as people and can donate essentially unlimited amounts of money. This is what created political action committees, super PACs, and all that stuff. Indivisible is a progressive organization formed in the wake of Trump's first election in 2016 and dedicated to resisting the Trump agenda. Indivisible says that it, quote, drives coordinated campaigns powering the grassroots Indivisible movement to defeat the right-wing takeover of American government, end quote, and claims that, quote, an alliance of white nationalists and the ultra-rich have been actively working to further undermine democracy, end quote. Has anybody checked SPLC to see how much they've donated to Indivisible? It's all the white supremacist. Charlottesville. Oh, wait, that was all Southern Poverty Law Center that funded that. Yeah, that's fascinating. Some of its partners, including the People's Forum, funded by self-proclaimed Marxist Neville Roy Singham, have drawn scrutiny from lawmakers for alleged foreign ties, specifically to China and Cuba, as well as possible violations of nonprofit law. Nonprofit law. That is the part that I most like to hear. And lastly, Indivisible was the primary Indivisible project, which is the 501c4. It's technically a separate entity. The Indivisible project was the primary organizer of the No Kings protests in 2025. Indivisible was once again at the forefront of the latest round of organized anti-ICE demonstrations in Newark at Delaney Hall. Those are the clips that we just saw right there. No shock that it is Indivisible that is behind these protests. Again, you know, Nick Sorter has the video up of the exclusive going backstage and walking through the resources and the infrastructure that is behind these organizations at this protest in New Jersey. How that's permitted to happen is beyond me. You just set up tents on the side of the road. Good luck doing that. Try doing that in any city in America and without, you know, the backing of a protest like this. And maybe they pulled permits. Maybe they pulled permits to set up tents on the side of the road. What? You're allowed to do that? You pulled permits to block a road in front of a federal facility? I doubt it. It's just nobody has the balls to go after it. Mickey Sherrill, the governor, will stand up there and say, these are from foreign, you know, foreign, by foreign I mean outside of New Jersey. These are people from outside of the state that are coming over here to sow this discord into our society, and we are going to do nothing about it. We're just going to cry about it. CBS News, Justice Department says it has obtained a superseding indictment against Southern Poverty Law Center with new details on donor funds. The superseding indictment was returned by a grand jury in the Middle District of Alabama and alleges $4.1 million worth of tax-exempt funds were used to pay informants inside of extremist organizations who then allegedly engaged in activities including recruiting new members and purchasing materials for cross burnings and Ku Klux Klan robes and hoods. Did they brand them? Do the robes have a tag made in SPLC? Right? We have that law. You have to have branding, what the country of origin in all of your clothing and products and whatnot. We should have the NGO that originated it. So these Klan robes, these Klan hoods, the burned crosses should have a placard that says financed by SPLC. Let's just put it out there, right? White supremacy is such a problem that we have to fund it in order to make it that much of a problem. Again, this is the psychological operation being run against the American people to make us believe that there is a good portion of us that are deranged, lunatic, psychos, racists, whatever you want to call them. And it's just most likely not the case. We're all just probably normal people. But SPLC needs to go out there and find a guy. Hey man, you want to make $250,000? All right, you're going to go out there. You're going to find the whitest white people you possibly can. These lunatics living, you know, I don't know where they're living. I'm not going to go that route, but get them out there. Finance them, fund them, buy them whatever you got to do, drag them down to the rally under false pretenses, tell them it's going to be this, turn it into that, and get your 5 seconds of news footage, and everything looks terrible. This is absolutely hilarious. The Justice Department's allegations that the SPLC made these payments without disclosing the practice to donors and by defrauding banks. Abbe Lowell, of course, the famous D.C. attorney that's like on everything. I mean, he's representing Hunter Biden. He's representing Fulton County. He's representing everybody. He says this apparent superseding indictment attempts to shore up the flaws in the initial charges, but it changes nothing. The SPLC did not lie to its donors. It did not mislead banks. It did business with, and its informant, It did not mislead banks it did business with, and its informants programs prevented violence and saved lives. Lowell said the Justice Department appeared to have shared a copy of the superseding indictment with the media before it was unsealed by the federal district court. I mean, look, me and Chris talked about this yesterday, and I can get on board with the idea that nothing's going to happen from this. This is just an exposure operation. Show that the SPLC is doing this, because technically Abbe Lowell might be right. He could be correct. There might not be any actual funding that the people were lied to. And by that, I mean, if you go to donate to SPLC and SPLC is like, hey, we're doing, you know, X, Y, and Z to combat white supremacy. Okay. as long as they didn't say explicitly, we are not going to pay informants to infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan, we are not going to buy robes for the Ku Klux Klan, or we are not going to buy nails and wood and everything else to burn these, to make these crosses, and the kerosene and the blowtorches and all that stuff. As long as they didn't say that, they're technically not lying. Misleading, maybe. But there's a Supreme Court decision, and I think it mentions it in the article. Let me check. I think it mentions it. Yeah, Thompson versus USA. Here, I'll read this part. The Supreme Court last year in Thompson versus USA ruled that the bank fraud statute at issue only criminalizes false statements and not statements that are misleading but not false. Former prosecutors told CBS News that this error meant that the indictment was wrongfully suggesting that misleading statements could be criminal, and they predicted that the DOJ would need to return the grand jury to fix the mistake. The new version of the indictment no longer includes the words, quote, or misleading, end quote, in reference to the statements made to the banks. So that's what they're hinging the defense on with SPLC. And again, they very well might win this case. You know, that doesn't take away from the fact that we now know, and we've always had kind of an inkling, but we now know that the SPLC has been funding the KKK, the neo-Nazis, all of these organizations. Right? We now understand this. And so the exposure is almost as good as a conviction. I want to see a conviction. Don't get me wrong. I think that's disgusting that you're a nonprofit that's taking in funding to stop something from happening, and while at the same time you're funding it. You go back and this has been the modus operandi of the FBI and so many other criminal law enforcement, federal law enforcement agencies, and probably local law enforcement too, where they have, essentially coercion. They essentially send people in there to infiltrate organizations, and then they're not doing police work, and they're not sitting there waiting for something to happen and then tipping it off. They're actually instigating it, right? Case in point, Gretchen Whitmer. We all remember Stephen D'Antuono's FBI field office up in Detroit infiltrating the gentleman up there that ended up going, they thought they were going to a bar for beers, and they ended up going to kidnap the alleged governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. And we find out of the 12 people that were involved in that, more than half of them were feds, either agents themselves or informants or whatever the case might be. And this is something that happens over and over and over again. And now when you see an SPLC doing the same exact thing, I mean, now it's not just the federal agencies that are doing it. It's the NGOs that are doing this. And, this is something that you should be disclosing. If you are paying people and they're on your salary, right? You're an NGO. You should not be sending in confidential informants and all that other shit. You are not a law enforcement agency. You are not an investigatory law enforcement agency. What the fuck is the SPLC doing, giving any money to somebody that they're supposed to be stopping? That is completely counterintuitive. I'm going to put out this fire by pouring some gasoline on it first. You can't do that. So again, at worst, this is a great expose. Great expose. At best, this ends up leading to some arrests and convictions. It's already led to arrests, indictments, to convictions. Muckrakers did a great clip. I'm going to play quite a bit of this, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes of this. And this is a continuation of the fraud that we're seeing, and I'll tie this into a hearing with USDA Secretary, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, and let me go ahead and play this clip. So he's talking about a SNAP fraud, EBT fraud taking place in Massachusetts, going into New Jersey, going into New York, and taking benefits that people are receiving from SNAP, in this case it's Dominicans, and sending it over to the Dominican Republic and making money hand over fist off of it.
Right now we're in one of many stores in the Dominican Republic that are stocked with food paid for in the United States with food stamps, sent here on a boat in a blue barrel, put in these little bodega stores, sold here, and it's all being paid for by you, the American taxpayer. These are 50-pound bags of rice that are going to get shipped back to Santo Domingo.
I'm seeing these big giant refrigerator boxes in 55-gallon barrel drums being filled up with food. There's just so much fraud going on in this one city.
Yeah.
It's not even funny.
Food stamps were created to help low-income American households put groceries on the table at home. The program cost American taxpayers over $100 billion in 2025 alone. But in cities like Lawrence, Massachusetts, a chunk of that money isn't feeding Americans at all. Food bought with your tax dollars at local markets that accept EBT, along with groceries picked up for free from food bank lines, gets loaded into barrels, driven to shipping companies, and sent overseas to the Dominican Republic, where it gets sold for profit in local markets. SNAP rules require that food stay in the household that bought it, but this fraud has been going on for years, and nobody seems to be talking about it. We spent weeks tracing the pipeline, from corner stores swiping EBT cards to vendors in Santo Domingo who told us exactly where their inventory comes from. We talked to a delivery driver in Lawrence, Massachusetts, who's been dropping off packages on these streets for over a decade and has been witnessing this fraud the entire time.
So I'm John, and I've been working in this town of Lawrence, Massachusetts for a little over 11 years. I deliver products all day long, 6 days a week. I have about 35 stops a day where I interact with these people every day.
And when you say these people, we're talking Dominicans specifically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Dominican people, yeah. I've been witnessing the Dominican residents going to food bank lines and collecting non-perishable goods and then packing it in barrels. And
Again, you know, I'm not saying that this guy's like, that he's trying to conceal himself, but I mean, this little thing hanging from his visor could be fake, could be added there to throw somebody off. But I mean, we can see this guy's probably bald or has very, very low cut hair. He's got a beard. He's wearing glasses. He's got a little bit of a, you know, kind of a gay sounding accent, you know, even over the muffledness. It's not very difficult to tell who this guy is, and he's laying out too much of his, you know, I got 35 stops a day, I'm in this area. It wouldn't be hard to figure out who this guy is. So and I'm not saying that to disparage this guy. I'm saying that as a hat tip to this guy, because he's putting himself at risk to expose this, and we need more people like that. We need more people that are willing to stand in the gap and stand in the fight.
boxes, and then they ship it back to the Dominican Republic.
So how do you know for sure that the people are buying this food that they're shipping back with the food stamps or, you know, whatever other government assistance?
Some of them have openly told me and my wife that that's what they're doing. And then the other way is the math. The bag of rice that they buy here costs $30 for the 50-pound bag of rice, okay? That same bag of rice in the Dominican Republic costs $35. The only way you could justify that is if you got the rice for free.
So we're here at one of the main shipping companies in Lawrence, Massachusetts that ships food and other goods from here back to Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. And you can see, for example, right here, look at these
this shit.
You got giant bags of rice. These are 50-pound bags of rice that are going to get shipped back to Santo Domingo. So, again, you could just imagine that makes no economic sense to do that. The cost of shipping these bags of rice and paying for them would be more than simply wiring the money back to Santo Domingo and then buying the rice there. But you could see this isn't a one-off. I mean, there's got to be at least right here, at least 10 or more 50-pound bags of rice. And we were also told by the workers here that most of the boxes you see here are full of food. And if not full of food, it's food mixed with other goods.
And I'm going to take you by right now to show you one of the bodegas that they sell the barrels. So these barrels are being used specifically for shipping products out of the country. Like I said.
And keep in mind, guys, the rice is like the low dollar item, right? A 50-pound bag of rice is only $35 over there, right? You could put 50 pounds of canned goods and make infinitely more than that. I mean, 50 pounds of canned goods, you know, is probably going to run you $75-$80. So the rice is actually kind of a shitty. It's kind of a shitty example to use. There's not much money even made in the rice, even with getting it for free if you're selling it for $35 after you ship it via boat over to Dominican.
They get the non-perishables, and here's all the barrels. Look at all the barrels.
Whoa, this is in front of a market right here.
Yeah, so they sell them. Now watch, this is
And here we have send money to your people via Carib Express. All right, we can wrap that up there. It's great to see these exposés coming out. Muckraker putting that one out. Here is the mayor of, I think she's the mayor of Seattle. She Katie Wilson. I think it's Seattle. I knew this before, and now I can't. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it's either Seattle or Portland. I'm pretty sure it's Seattle.
What have you done in those regards?
Yeah, so we're working on that. So we have conversations going on with the departments. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't think it needs to be explained why it's problematic to have random people showing up to daycares. Yeah, I mean, I think the fear in the Somali community is real. The fear in immigrant communities are real. So we're taking that very seriously.
Along those lines, have you asked anyone to follow up on the fraud claims either to the Department of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs or SPD?
No.
So there's, as far as you're concerned right now, there's no reason to suggest there's any sort of fraud.
This whole issue is not really about fraud, right? It's
yes,
about
it is.
Dividing and conquering. It's about making an immigrant community a target, right? There's no reason to assume based on the identity of a daycare operator that their small business is doing anything wrong.
I mean, that makes you complicit right there. We have bona fide allegations of fraud, and we are not going to investigate it because it's a weaponization against a community based on their race. No. Again, you know, I said this in the week. Show me any race. You know, if they're white, I don't care. I don't care. I'm so sick of getting taxed to death and having that tax money now, as we're seeing in huge quantities, going to pay bullshit. And then especially when you start talking about things like healthcare, that pisses me off the most because that is one of the most contentious things that Democrats run on. And again, I hate playing the Democrat versus Republican, but that's what the Democrats run on is healthcare. And that's the talking points that go down to their little minions that are out there. Healthcare should be a right. Well, you guys have abused that right. And when we're trying to clean up the right and the amount of money that's funding that right, and I'm using the term right, tongue in cheek, anytime you are dependent on the financial services of another person, the work and labor of another person, that cannot be a right. Cannot be a right. If you want to go out there and learn how to take care of yourself, then that's your right to learn how to take care of yourself. But if you are relying on somebody else to provide you a service, that is not a right. Okay? But anyways, I'm tired of seeing it. And again, I couldn't care less if it's black, white, immigrant, illegal immigrant, or U.S. citizens, Dominican, Somalian, Armenian, Romanian, Chinese, Korean. I don't give a fuck. I'm just sick and tired of paying taxes and seeing all this shit happen and nobody doing anything about it. So check this out. Just the news here. Nearly 2/3 of Minnesota's high-risk Medicaid providers fail the state's Department of Health review. DHS, state DHS review. The Minnesota Department of Human Services, not Department of Health, Department of Human Services, completed a review of 5,583 providers participating in 13 high-risk Medicaid programs. Of those providers, 2,061 were successfully revalidated. 3,411 were notified that they would be unenrolled. That's more than the ones that were revalidated. 3,411 were notified they would be unenrolled, including 2,491 for incomplete paperwork or documentation, 916 for failing site visits. I bet you anything, if you go back and look at the reason for those site visits, some of them didn't exist, or they were run out of somebody's basement, or a shed, or a trailer in the middle of an abandoned park. An abandoned trailer in the middle of a park, I should say, not an abandoned park. Don't abandon parks. Parks are great. 916 for failing site visits and 4 for failing background studies. 59 providers were referred to the Office of Inspector General for further review. More than 60% of Minnesota's providers in high-risk services, including everything from adult companion care to non-emergency medical transportation, failed to meet the review's standards. Providers were required to submit ownership and licensing information, demonstrate adequate staffing levels, complete fingerprint background studies, and undergo unannounced site visits during the 5-month review process, which ended on May 31st. Nearly 40% of the providers under review were located in Hennepin County, which includes Minneapolis and is Minnesota's most populous county. So 40%, 5,800 and whatever, 40% of those, so shit, damn near 2,500, 2,600 are in Minneapolis, in that area, in Hennepin County. Now, when you think about this, a 5-month review that this has been going on, it ended on May 31st. So that goes all the way back to January. So when Nick Shirley put out his video, and that was like late December, I believe. This was already kind of getting ready to go on. This was getting ready to be exposed. And so Shirley putting it out kind of just laid the foundation for it, put out the precursor for it, rallied the troops behind it. It exposed the state, because this was a state investigation, I believe, right? State's Department of Health Service. So this was the state having to do this, finally doing this. And again, you go back to a lot of the complaints that we've seen come out from whistleblowers in Minnesota that are saying the state officials would not allow them to go and report these instances of fraud, and they wouldn't be investigated. They'd be told to shut up. They'd be retaliated against for trying to report this. Shirley puts this out to garner public support for this movement, and then boom, you get this 5-month investigation and, you know, this revalidation of these agencies. And I'm curious to see specifically why some of these agencies were cut down, what was cut down, how much money the state's going to save as a result of this, and how much of that's going to get pushed back on the taxpayer. Not pushed back negatively, but taken away. Another story from Just the Times through Center Square, New York Times investigating Medicaid spending on autism therapy in North Carolina. Now, what's interesting about this is earlier, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we played a clip with J.D. Vance. I think it was J.D. Vance, where he was talking about the fraud. It might have been Todd Blanche. And he was saying, you know, there's a 57,000% increase in spending on these programs in Minnesota, and an 11,000% increase in North Carolina. Autism, a lot of these home health care businesses, these adult daycares, et cetera, et cetera. And immediately I was like, how does that not throw up the red flags? How does that, like in any industry in the entire world, any industry, an 11,000%, a 100% increase in revenue would throw up red flags. An 11,000% increase, a 57,000% increase, red flags should have been thrown up. Every single business out there that was receiving any of these funds should have been, you know, investigated. So from North Carolina now, it says, quote, the state auditor's office is in the middle of a large-scale review of ABA therapy. That is, let me get the exact term. I think it's adult behavioral autism. It is, ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. It's a autism, a way that they assess autistic children. The state auditor's office is in the middle of a large-scale review of ABA therapy in North Carolina that will look at potential fraud, lax oversight, and everything in between, said a spokesman for the Office of the State Auditor. Quote, with over 3 million North Carolinians enrolled in Medicaid, it's important to examine these costs on behalf of the taxpayers who fund the programs. Data presented to lawmakers showed spending on autism therapy services surged by 347% from 2022 to 2025. During that period, the number of children receiving services grew from 3,844 to 13,447. Current and former workers told the Times that some clinics recommend 25, 30, or even 40 hours of therapy per week. Some said clinics encouraged families to keep children out of school so that they could attend more therapy. One former executive said therapy hours were sometimes based on a child's availability rather than clinical need. Hey, is your kid available? Oh, bring him in for therapy. Does he need it? No, but we need to bill for it. The Times reported that Medicaid often pays about $70 per hour nationally for these, what are they called? Language Licensed Qualified Autism Service Providers, or LQASPs. LQASP, LQASPs. The Times reported that Medicaid often pays about $70 per hour nationally, $83 in North Carolina, for therapy largely delivered by workers with a high school diploma who earn about $20 per hour. Talk about ripping off the government. Like, I understand there's businesses out there that charge a higher per hour rate than what you're paying the people, but by 300%, and a high school diploma is all you need to provide service for these autistic children. Therapy. We're not talking like daycare. We're talking like therapy. These are supposed to be people that are somehow getting through to these children and making them better in some form or fashion. And they have a high school diploma. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody with a high school diploma, but I don't think you know enough about autism to be able to, effectuate any type of therapy with them. The parents probably have more ability to do that. Pay the parents $83 an hour to stay home with their autistic kid. Not saying we should do that either, to be clear. But, I mean, I'd much rather do that than paying some therapist to come in there for 40 hours a week. That's nuts, man. Like, think about that. How would that make you feel as a parent of an autistic child if you have somebody that's coming over to your house and being paid by the state and your taxpayer dollars, $83 per hour. Meanwhile, the person that's coming over to actually do the work is an unqualified high school graduate that's making $20 an hour, but it's $83 an hour coming out of your pocket as a taxpayer to pay for this. Meanwhile, you could do your child a world of good if you just didn't have to go to work every single day and work 60 hours a week in order to pay for a special needs child and making $25 an hour. Meanwhile, the state's paying somebody $83 an hour to come and take care of your kid. You want to talk about a fucked up situation? That is a fucked up situation. That is absolutely ridiculous. Man, we need to shut this shit down. Gotta shut this shit down. So, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they're responsible for distributing SNAP funds, was on the Hill this week, and she was testifying before Congress. And this is Representative Craig from Minnesota. Minnesota. We just talked about Minnesota and their autism work, right? Check this clip out.
Because according to USDA.
Your state is saying we only have 1.6% fraud rate, which we all know is an absolute joke.
I'll say it again. The USDA's own data found 1.6%. I don't know.
No, we were relying on your data from Minnesota,
and you won't share it with us.
The
difference between error rates and fraud rates. I honestly don't. It is one of the lowest fraud rate in any program in America is the SNAP program.
The lowest fraud rate of any program in America is the SNAP program? You can't be serious when you say that.
Your own data says 1.6%.
Again,
Madam
that's
Secretary.
because the states, your state has told us that number,
once more.
and you won't allow us to confirm it.
You've bragged on TV that it's a great thing that you kicked 4 million people off SNAP.
The ability to work, the righteousness of work is not
reclaiming my time. 700,000
we should be proud.
kids.
That's the goal of these welfare programs.
Madam Secretary, I'm asking you these questions because these issues, this committee, it's all personal.
You're not
to me.
asking questions for an answer. You're asking questions to make a political
reclaiming my
statement.
time again.
I would like to actually have a real conversation.
Mom was, Madam Secretary, Mr. Chair, she talked over half of my time here. So look, when you describe the farm.
So Craig, Representative Craig, quote unquote representative, probably illegitimate, is sitting there saying, hey, your own data says one. No, ma'am. I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to clear the record here. It's not our data. It's your data. We're currently suing you to get access to that data, to see how you arrived at those numbers. We didn't put those numbers out. We just regurgitated the garbage data that you gave us. You are preventing the federal government from auditing federal dollars that go to your state. Again, this is the epitome of how absurd all of this actually is. That the federal government has no ability, if they want to, and this is the first time, we learned this when they said we're going to go in and audit SNAP. We learned this is the first time the federal government has audited the SNAP program at the state level. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? A program that is giving out taxpayer dollars to people that we've been saying for a long time, people showing up at the grocery store and buying steak and lobster. And crab and forget about the soda and all that shit, making these people fat and diabetic and more dependent on Medicaid and Medicare and more dependent on the medical system instead of promoting healthy food. And Secretary Rollins is sitting there saying, we just want to see your data. I'm reclaiming my time. Sir, she spoke over me the whole time. How was I supposed to make my propaganda rhetoric and get my 5-minute soundbite for my campaign when Brooke Rollins was really mean and talked over me? Shut the fuck up. Shut up. I'm sorry, I'm swearing a little bit, a lot today. I'm swearing a lot today. But these people have me so fucking fired up. They had me fired up. Check out of the system. The system is fundamentally broken. It's fundamentally broken. And it is being exposed. It is being exposed at a level that we've never seen before. And it is fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic to watch all of this exposure coming out right in front of us. Right in front of us. I love it. Free the F-bombs. Let the F-bombs fly. All right. I fucking warned you. I fucking knew it. Oh, man. Did you guys see the post I put out today? Let me pull this up real quick. I'm making a little sidetrack here. So this guy at that protest... No, not that. The guy at the protest gets run over. Oh, dude got run over, right? And so I put this out. I'm telling you guys, there is a Rick and Morty clip for everything in life. Here you go.
Man versus car, the newest hit show where it pits a man versus a car. On tonight's episode, Michael Jenkins fights a regular old car. Here we go. He's pushing his way through. He's trying to fight that car, but the car seems to have the upper hand. Oh, he's got a little bit of pushback there. Oh no, he just got ran over and chewed up by the tires. I guess that's another one for the cars. I mean, wouldn't the cars always win?
I mean, wouldn't the cars always win? Yeah. Fuck around. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Fuck around, find out. All of the shit. All of the shit. All right. I just wanted to play that because I thought that was hilarious. Now the guy's like, we need all your footage because I'm going to sue these motherfuckers because I jumped in front of their car and they ran me over because they were in fear for their life because we were all protesting and making the... Nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Literally, nobody cares. We're so fed up with this shit. Just knock it off, man. Go back home. Go back to your mama's basement. eat your ramen noodles, and sit there and bitch about it on Blue Sky. Is that what's Blue Sky? Yeah. Bitch about it on Blue Sky. President Trump, illegal immigrants and foreign fraudsters steal billions every year from the American taxpayer. As part of my administration's historic effort to end fraud and reverse mass illegal immigration, I recently signed a powerful new executive order, which will be led by the Treasury Department, to stop banks, credit cards, and financial institutions from being used to facilitate human smuggling, drug trafficking, illegal immigration, and the criminal cartels who orchestrate these activities. Access to our financial systems must be limited to those who have a legal right to be here and who are engaged in lawful and legitimate commerce. Bank accounts being used to enable illegal immigration or to store the welfare received by illegal aliens will be shut down, and funds will ultimately face impoundment and seizure so they can be returned to taxpayers. It is not ludicrous, but profoundly dangerous that any illegal alien can simply present a blue state driver's license or Biden border document and have unrestricted access to the U.S. financial system. It also sends a clear message to the anti-ICE rioters that your violent disruptions are only strengthening our resolve. My executive order will also allow us to stop billions from leaving our country and all manner of criminal activity. It has been said this measure we are taking is the most effective means of reversing Biden's border invasion. We shall soon find out. Again, Alpha brought this up on Thursday. When you take away their ability to receive the welfare that they're receiving, SNAP, Medicaid, Social Security, all of that stuff, when you take that ability to receive that and then send it back home via American banks, you are going to promote a lot of people from self-deporting to self-deport. And they're going to say, you know what? We had a good run. They're not going to get out there in the streets like these lunatic leftist paid actors are going to do. They're going to just go home. They're just going to say, all right, we had a good run. It's over. This is an interesting story here. CBS News. This came out on Friday, I believe. Thursday, maybe. I did not get to cover this on Daily, and it's kind of interesting. So, correction officer testifies that she was not the orange shape seen near Jeffrey Epstein's cell the night that he died. So we all saw on the video this little orange shape going up the stairs towards the SHU, the special housing unit, where Jeffrey Epstein was being housed. However, we didn't know who the bleep it was. And I don't know. So now, a lot of people speculated it was one of the corrections officers bringing laundry up, whatever the case may be. Clearly not. But there's a lot of other stuff in this article that is concerning and points to this woman was deliberately put in the position that she was put in specifically for that reason. A former correction officer testified before the House Oversight Committee last month that she was not the orange shape seen moving up the stairs of Epstein's tier the night that he died. Tova Noel steadfastly denied being the individual in the footage and maintained that she was not present at that moment. I don't know what it is. This is a quote. I don't know what it is, who it is, because I never went back to the tier. And I was never carrying anything orange at all. And I never issue anything orange to anyone in the SHU. Not just only Epstein, just anyone, Noel said. This was the last time that someone was seen approaching Epstein's cell the night of his death. Because of a hard drive failure, a majority of the cameras were streaming, but not recording that night, of course. Noel acknowledged that she failed to properly conduct required inmate rounds and counts on that night before Epstein's death, but denied any involvement in his death. I mean, that is involvement. It's indirect, but that is involvement. Not doing the rounds and checking on the safety and security of the inmates and ensuring that they're there and that they're alive, that is indirectly involved. Noel, an Antigua-born immigrant and former National Guard member who served in Kuwait during Operation Enduring Freedom, that's the Afghan war, testified that she had recently returned to work after a workplace injury and was working mandatory overtime during her first overnight shift in the special housing unit. So you've just got a whole smorgasbord of what the fuck with this. She's injured. She's just getting back on the job after being injured. Does she still have any, complications from this injury? Is she on medication from this injury? Does she have medication that could put her out and make her fall asleep from this injury? Does she have drowsy inducing, sleep inducing medications? She's working a mandatory overtime. This is your first overtime coming back from a shift or from an injury. You've been out for a long time, and you bring in this woman, a foreigner. Granted, she's probably a citizen now, I would assume, but you bring in an Antigua-born woman who just came off of an injury, may or may not be on medication, mandatory overtime, and you put her for her first overnight shift in the special housing unit, and that's the night that Epstein hangs himself. I'm sure Epstein was not privy to all of this. He was locked up in his cell. This is not something that was orchestrated by Epstein. The perfect storm, so to speak, that is created with these types of circumstances. Is that done? No. She did not know who Epstein was when he was moved into the SHU and was unaware of several special conditions associated with his confinement, including that he required a cellmate. She had not seen a posted notice requiring mandatory 30-minute rounds on Epstein. The notice had been printed on orange paper and attached to the computer monitor at her desk. She testified that she learned about Epstein's prior alleged suicide attempt from his cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, who the day after the incident occurred she learned about the suicide and had never seen a note reportedly connected to that incident. Again, this is like the perfect storm of what the fuck? What the fuck? Coming off injury, no idea what medication she's on. Mandatory overtime, first shift in the SHU, foreign-born. I don't know what she did in the National Guard in Kuwait for OEF, Operation Enduring Freedom. Maybe they meant Iraqi freedom because Kuwait and Iraq are close by, but Kuwait and Afghanistan, I mean, maybe it's like a fly-through, troops landing in and out of there, like a refuel logistics base, maybe. Or is it intelligence? Who knows? I don't know. We're getting crazy there. But then on top of all of that, she has no idea who Epstein is, so she has no idea that there's, a story around him. And they allegedly put an orange Post-it note on her computer screen saying he needs 30-minute checks, and she didn't see that? If I sit down at my computer screen, which I do every single morning at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., sometime in between there, if there's a Post-it note on my computer screen, I'm going to look at it. In fact, I would put Post-it notes on my computer screen so that I specifically knew this is something I need to do. This is utterly retarded. Are we done? No, we're not done. We're not done. Noelle was asked about the 12 cash deposits beginning in April of 2018 that had been previously identified by investigators. She said the money came from her personal savings and had no connection to Epstein or anyone associated with him. She repeatedly denied receiving money from Epstein or any affiliated individuals, but refused to disclose the source of the funds. Quote, I deposited my money into my bank account, and that's for my personal savings plan. And no one has ever approached me about money or given me money in reference to Mr. Epstein at all, ever, end quote. She also denied intentionally searching for information about Epstein on a prison computer, explaining that she clicked on a news article link that appeared on a homepage. Regarding the discovery of Epstein, Noelle testified that she never entered the cell, did not see the body initially, and only observed Epstein's feet while another correction officer, Michael Thomas, performed CPR. She said she first saw the body when it was removed on a stretcher, as if the Epstein suicide part did not need to get a little bit crazier. There it is. Dude, I mean, this isn't even a good psychological operation. This isn't even a good false flag. This is not even a good story. This is laziness. Remember the decoy vehicles to get them out of there, the ear that doesn't match, the bone that shouldn't have been broken. Like, if we took the entire story, like, let's just take the entire story and leave out who Epstein is. And just take a high-value target, was in a prison, and he'd been in prison for whatever, and he potentially had the ability to expose corruption, blah, blah, blah. And then we lay out everything that happened that night. Everything we just talked about with that woman, right? First night back on a work night injury, first night in the shoe, first mandatory overtime, just came off an injury, no idea what medication she's on, had a note posted to look for this guy, is searching for the guy on the internet, but it wasn't searching. It just happened to be an article that was on her screen about Epstein beforehand, just happened to be, right? Had no idea that she was supposed to check in on 30 minutes, had no idea who went up to the shoe with the orange stuff, has no idea who that is, had 12 payments that she just happened to be taking from her savings account into her personal bank account, but doesn't disclose the sources. Take all of that. The cameras go off. They're live streaming, but they're not recording. The vehicles, when they move the body. Well, and then you get into the hanging. He was able to hang himself and put all of this into an AI program and say, what are the odds that this guy committed suicide, or what are the odds that this guy was either murdered or extracted? And I think it's extracted. There is no doubt in my mind. I would almost say, man, Epstein not killing himself is on the same level of confidence with me as the 2020 election was stolen. How about that? How about that for a bold statement? Now, that being said, I've done the episode on it. It's an hour-long episode, maybe a little bit over that, about why I think Trump is a confidential informant in the Epstein case and why I think that we're going to find all this out. I do believe that we are going to get disclosure on this. Just got to give it time, guys. You got to give it time. Go back and check out that episode. It was probably 3 months ago. An hour long. Maybe Liberty Line can find it and put the chat in there, and I'll replace Spoetzel's pin up there at the top. But, man, I mean, that story is just freaking nuts right there. That story is nuts. All right. Let's get into the war between Trump and Iran. No, the war between Trump and the Republicans, not Iran. Totally kidding there. Here's Thune, Senate Majority Leader Thune, talking about the anti-weaponization fund. He's got his obligatory little elf behind him over his right shoulder. Come on.
Weaponization fund is done, or if you try reconciliation, will they insist again on putting safeguards? And does that sidetrack an effort this week to do reconciliation?
We had a quite robust conversation about that just now. The Attorney General, Todd Blanche, is testifying in the House today. I think you probably are all aware of that. And I had a conversation with him shortly, a couple hours ago, in which he sort of previewed what he was going to say. And I think his statements are going to be very definitive, very clear, and create the certainty that I hope all of our members and House members need as well in order for us to proceed on the reconciliation bill. But I'm not guaranteeing that happens yet. We're still continuing to have conversations with our members. I think, as I've conveyed to you before, everything comes down to a function of math. It's, do we have the votes? Do we have 50 votes to execute on getting a bill like that across the floor? Because we have to have Republicans hanging together in order to do that.
Republicans hanging together. Interesting choice of words.
This fund is off the table. So is that your understanding as well after speaking with the acting attorney general?
That is correct.
Do you think that Bill Pulte has the experience?
Like this from being created in the future, or is the president or the acting attorney general?
All right, so Republicans got to hang together, guys. They got to hang together. I am not encouraging violence in any way, shape, or form. Those are John Thune's words, not mine. This anti-weaponization fund, man, I have not seen a meltdown over something like that. $1.7 billion, okay? And again, it's in lieu of a settlement for a lawsuit that Trump is bringing about the IRS invading his privacy and releasing his tax returns without his permission. It's against the law. It's against the law. I've never seen a freak out like this over something like that. I genuinely, anti-weaponization funds are not new. Barack Obama had one called Keep Eagle. It was for Native Americans that were discriminated against by the government. And I don't know all the details on it. Very well could have been true. Could have been true. And they should be compensated for it. However, I will say this. This is the thing that pisses me off. When we have accountability for discrimination and weaponization and things like that, you know who's being held accountable? You know who gets held accountable for weaponization of government? Not the government, us. We're the ones that get held accountable, because that is going to end up being our taxpayer dollars going towards other Americans that get the government weaponized. The fucking government doesn't get any scrutinized. Where's the people in the FBI being arrested for violating people's Fourth Amendment rights? By the way, Thomas Massie brought forth a bill to put accountability on Fourth Amendment violations. This was back in 2025. Where is the accountability for Fourth Amendment violations? Where is the accountability for the weaponization of government, the agencies, the Department of Justice that went after these people? I'm not talking about, the DOJ is going to pay you out. No, that's our fucking money. That's not the DOJ paying out anything. That's us paying out the money for the DOJ. Sure, the DOJ might get a little slap on the wrist. No. These people need to be put in prison. People need to be put in prison. They need to feel the financial pain themselves. And I do think we will see the prison. I think there will be the Grand Rico down in Florida is going to encompass a lot of this. And I think, a lot of people talk about Nessun Dorma and playing Nessun Dorma. I want to hear Layla. I want to hear the outro to Layla, in, what was it? Was it Goodfellas? Was it Goodfellas at the end when they're playing Layla, when they're hitting all the mob bosses and all the people and they're all getting whacked? I want to see Layla with all the arrests. Doom, 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 doom. I want to hear the piano outro playing. Nessun Dorma will work for me, but I'm more in tune with Layla. In fact, I'm going to jam out to some Layla after this. I was talking about it last night on my date night show because we found out I didn't know that George Harrison was the guy that Eric Clapton stole the girl from. We were talking, played I Want a New Drug or something on our date night show. I think we get the accountability. I mean, we had Bolton, right? John Bolton just got pled guilty. 1 count out of 18, meaning 17 counts that he didn't get accounted for. 17. I'm sure there's a calm somewhere in there. $2.5 million fine, no jail time. Maybe that's because he's working with the government. He's turned state's witness. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I talked yesterday. David Petraeus did something very similar. Didn't get anything. Sandy Berger, National Security Advisor under Obama, stuffing classified documents in his pants, walking out of the archives with it. Didn't get anything. In fact, he got significantly less than Bolton. Bolton got a $2.5 million fine. They got less than $100,000 fines. Petraeus was $40,000 to $100,000, and Berger was, I think, $40,000. Berger. So, I mean, there's a possibility that Bolton got what he got, and that's all he's going to get, and he rides off into the sunset. There's a possibility. There's a possibility. Not even a pee-pee slap. Yeah, they all get pee-pee slaps. Everybody in the DOJ that's weaponized against them gets a pee-pee slap with a mouse trap. Pee-pee slap with a mouse trap. You got to slap the mouse trap with the pee-pee, and then pow! Ooh, you want a fucking mental image right there. Holy crap. For those that don't know, the pee-pee slap is it's an official Marine Corps term. Official Marine Corps term. That's what we call it. Might have only been an official Marine Corps term in my unit, but it's an official Marine Corps term. I designated it as such. Okay, so again, the meltdown over the weaponization board or anti-weaponization fund, I should say, and the board, because there is a board involved. The only thing I think that might be getting as much scrutiny as that is Bill Pulte being named as Senate, as DNI. The Senate GOP is in meltdown mode over this move. Just when President Trump removed one thumb from the eye of Senate Republicans, I'm telling you, he's at fucking war with the Republicans. He is at war with the Republicans. Just when President Trump removed one thumb from the eye of Senate Republicans, scrapping his $1.8 billion weaponization fund, and then also at the same time saying, it's coming back. It's coming back. I'm going to ask the lawyers. It's coming back. He put another right back in with his choice of Bill Pulte as DNI. This time the stakes are even higher. Democrats are threatening to let the government's spy powers lapse next week unless Trump yanks the appointment. Is that the ultimate 4D chess? Like, Trump has previously railed on FISA. And then he comes out recently, he's like, hey, FISA, we got to get it passed. We got to pass it. We got to pass it. And now the Republicans are like, we'll withhold FISA. Or excuse me, the Democrats, we will withhold FISA funding. And the Republicans are like, yeah, we'll jump on with that. If you don't remove Pulte, we won't pass FISA for you, Mr. President. Did he just get them to do his bidding? Like, he just... You know, like, you ever seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit? You do, you don't. You do, you don't. You do, you don't. You don't. I do. You don't. I do. You know what I'm saying? It's a classic clip, man. I miss that movie. I got to watch it. I bet you my wife has never seen that movie. I bet you my wife has never seen that movie. There it is. Let's play that. This is Trump.
Drink the drink.
But I don't want the drink.
He doesn't want the drink. He does.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You don't.
I do.
You don't.
I do.
You don't.
Listen, when I say I do, that means I do.
Gotcha, kid.
Oh, man. Jessica Rabbit. Yep. Jessica Rabbit, man. Hottest cartoon out there. Hottest cartoon out there. Yep. You do. Trump is throwing it back at them. Yeah. You guys get a taste of my YouTube algorithm because of Y-Chromes. I don't even know what all this is. Guns and chicks is my whole entire YouTube algorithm. All right, so getting back into the Pulte story here. Sorry for that tangent. This time, the stakes are even higher. Democrats threatening to let the government's spy powers lapse next week. Republicans need at least 8 Democratic votes in the Senate as Section 702 to keep Section 702 from lapsing on June 12th, potentially forcing Trump to choose between sticking with Pulte or keeping Section 702 alive. Stick with Pulte. Senator Mark Warner, quote, I thought I'd gotten the war to the stage where I could no longer be shocked by Donald Trump's choices, but this may be the most outrageous of all. Oh, lastly, Thune himself did not mince words about Pulte, who used his perch as head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency to target Trump's adversaries. Quote, we don't need a weaponized DNI. We need professionals there, as he's literally fighting against the anti-weaponization fund. Pot, meat, kettle. Pot, meat, kettle. Spoetzel, because of Y-Chromes. Yeah, right. No, it is. It is honestly because of Y-Chromes. Mostly. Mostly. I mean, I am still a guy. You put that in front of me, I'm going to click it. I want to see what it's like. The crazy thing is most of the time, like, they'll put like a really hot like chick up as like the cover, the thumbnail, and then you click on it, and it's like the most retarded stuff ever. So you learn to navigate through those kinds of things, and not click them. But yeah, most of my stuff is for Y-Chromes, and especially in the beginning, it's got a little more scaled back. It's a little less raunchy, you know. We're trying to keep it PG-13 instead of having to put up the alpha censorship, or not alpha censorship, but the alpha warning. We don't censor. The alpha warning label. There you go. All right. Let's jump into, we'll just go through the headlines on these because this is the war that Trump is waging against them. Senate advances reconciliation bill, dropping White House ballroom funds ahead of final push. Again, Trump is not asking for this. This thing is funded by private donors and private funding. It's not taxpayer funded. There's $1 billion that they were given to Secret Service, and Trump's like, well, yeah, that's going to go towards securing this building. Of course it is. It's going to be part of the White House. The Secret Service still has a job to do, right? The Secret Service, anytime the president goes somewhere, any place the president's going to be, any place the president might be, the Secret Service has a job to do there. And so, you know, to sit there and say like, oh, well, we're going to take away the Secret Service funding. What, you going to have the ballrooms just completely protected by Trump's own private security detail? They might do a more effective job. Careful. You might not have the assassination attempts that you've had over the last, 2 years. Here's another one here. The Hill. House passes resolution to end Iran war, challenging Trump. Again, notional bill will never pass. This is just throwing it out there that we are pushing back against him. There is a war going on right now between Trump and the GOP. 6 GOP senators vote to block Trump's White House ballroom. 4 Senate Republicans joined Democrats to block President Trump's key legislative priorities. The vote exposed, this is for the SAVE Act, the Save America Act. Okay. And what they'll do, and so, people, and I talked about this on Friday, you'll see people go out there and be like, oh, well, this is just Murkowski, Collins, Tillis, and, Cornyn and McConnell and all those people. Yes, but they are the party. Unfortunately, they might not be the party for the people. Like, we don't give a fuck, right? Like Mitch McConnell, he has no popularity with the people, but he has the popularity with the money. He has the funding. He has all of the money in his coffers. He has control of the Senate Republican congressional committees. He has, he has a lot of power still. And this is something we had Chad Caton on a couple weeks ago on SitRep, me and Alpha, and we were talking about Lindsey Graham specifically, who, by the way, Trump just endorsed him again, which we all saw coming. I mean, wasn't a question. Again, when we were talking with Chad was saying you can't go against Lindsey Graham if you're in South Carolina, because he will destroy you. He has the power to destroy you. He doesn't have the power of the people. He has the power of the person. He has the power of the corporations and the corporate donors. And that is all that matters in this country now. This is why, I started the show off saying we need to reevaluate Citizens United. And this is exactly why. Because the power of corporations, the power of special interest groups, the power of the lobbyists, all of that stuff has more power than we the people by a lot. It's not even close. The Save America Act is a perfect prime example of that. Now, we'll get into that because I think Trump is also setting that up. I'm on board with Trump does not want that to actually pass. And he's doing that as a way to piss us off with the GOP and the Democrats, but also the GOP, because there are Republicans that won't do the things that need to be done to get that passed. And Trump is doing this deliberately. This is part of the weapons in his war against the Republicans. And so when you see those people, those 4 senators, those 6 senators, 18 House members, when you see those people going out, those are the people that are sacrificial lambs, that you throw them out there. Tillis is gone. McConnell's gone. These are 2 people that are not going to run again. Collins is maybe going to lose to Graham Plattner. Maybe. I mean, rigged elections and all. The 2 from Alaska, Murkowski and Sullivan, are both... Murkowski's not up for election. She doesn't care either way. Alaska has ranked choice voting thanks to Murkowski, and she's a beneficiary of it. But they don't care. And so they can go out there and they can be that pushback. They can be the vocal voice that thwarts these agenda items. And without the filibuster, or with the filibuster, nothing's going to pass anyways. So it's all a facade. And all it takes is those 4 people to be the generals on the battlefield. Everything else happens behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, Trump is at war with the GOP. It's a very covert war. It's very covert. He gives you flashes of it, but it's a covert operation. Here's another story here. Tom Tillis, let's play this.
You on this weaponization fund, are you? If this does not get added to the bill, could you support passage?
No, I'm not gonna vote to get off. I voted to get on it with the goal of potentially getting an amendment done or supporting some other members' amendment.
So why is this so important to get this? To target the weaponization fund here when it's because the president has kept this option open?
Well, even the AG has said that it's done. So I don't know why we just don't codify it so Democrats are not raising the speculation that it come back at some point. If the AG has said that, then why not codify it? It doesn't seem to be at cross purposes with the admin, and it takes that argument away from the Democrats. That's a win-win, in my opinion.
How do you feel about How do you feel about him?
What about Todd Blanche? And could he get through the committee? Would he have your support? Could he get through the floor?
Well, I actually believe that getting this issue off the table improves Todd's chances of getting through judiciary and getting through the floor. If this is still out there, can you imagine what the Democrats are going to do to that man during a confirmation hearing?
Again, I said this on Friday. Let them. Todd Blanche is a grown-ass man. He is a seasoned lawyer. He is the Attorney General of the United States of America. Let him.
Can you imagine how that could potentially influence a couple of our members? We take this off the table, Todd's chances of becoming confirmed as the AG go up, I believe, immensely.
But if it's not off the table, could you support if the weaponization fund is not completely off the table? If you don't codify it into law, could you support Todd Blanche as Attorney General?
We're looking at it. I haven't made a decision yet. The key for Todd or anybody going through Judiciary Committee is being pretty tight on January the 6th. They better not have said for 1 minute that the people that beat up police officers like these right down here were righteous people. You come even close to saying that, you don't have a chair of getting my vote in judiciary.
It sounded like tonight that the president didn't think that this weaponization fund.
How long till it comes out that Tom Tillis was part of the orchestration of January 6th? This guy is melting the fuck down on January 6th, and there's a reason for it. I don't know what it is, but there's a reason for it.
Been put to bed. I mean, does Todd Blanche?
Well, then you know what? Then the right hand and the left hand need to figure out what the hell they're doing, because I heard a guy who just got put forth as AG say it's dead, and if it's dead, we should be able to codify that and be done with it.
Was Blanche on January 6th? Were you okay with what he said there?
Thank you.
Oh, watching them melt down over J6 and the anti-weaponization front. Don't know, man. Here's another piece of the battle. House approves Ukraine aid and Russian sanctions, defying Trump and GOP leaders. The war is real. The war is real. Let's go ahead and pause here for a moment and hit a sponsor. And let's go ahead and talk about our friends over at Emerald Med. I want to share a quick story about a family supporting this channel. Their father had a rare form of cognitive decline due to his military service that made him unable to work. Their mother had to stop working, too, so that she could care for him. Their son discovered new U.S. Library of Medicine studies on various mushroom blends that could significantly support cognitive function. So they began creating a complex mushroom complex mushroom supplement based on that research, not just to help their own family, but to help others. They nearly quit after multiple setbacks and having their first batch stolen. Fast forward now, they speak at medical conventions nationwide. Their company is called Emerald Med, and their product massively supports brain, immune, blood, and heart function. Your cognitive function optimizes everything that you do. You can get knees, hearts, and kidneys replaced, but you can't get a new brain. Too bad we can't for the people on the other side of the aisle. So investing in the only brain you'll have for the rest of your life matters. If you want to support a company that supports our channel and free speech with their marketing, and you want to try a strong mushroom supplement, they have a deal for America's 250th. Just click the link below and use the code for 30% off. It's currently the most concentrated mushroom gummy in the U.S. It has up to 400 compounds and is rich in vitamins and minerals with 6 formulas in one. It's like getting 6 supplements for the price of one. You can click the link below to try Emerald Med's mushroom gummies, 30% off today. And I can tell you guys, I have been using a couple products from Emerald Med for about 7 months now. 6 months, 7 months. And when I ordered them, I guess they saw it and they sent me a handwritten note. It's actually right here. They wrote me this long note here, Jeremy over at Emerald Med. And good stuff, good people over there. So check them out. The link is right there. You guys can check it out. Okay, and let me unpin Spoetzel's message. Share the show out. If you have not done so, smash that thumbs up. We've got about 630 people watching, 182 thumbs up. We could do better than that. Helps us out. Share it out. If you're over on YouTube, jump over to Rumble, give it a thumbs up, and vice versa as well. So let's go ahead. We talked about the Ukraine funding. Now, the House and the Ukraine funding. I think we saw something this week, and Hunter Biden coming out and doing all the things that he's doing, saying all the things he's saying. I believe that we could potentially see Hunter Biden relatively soon. It has to be after the Ukraine war ends, which I think is one of the reasons why they keep this going. But Hunter Biden called in to testify, subpoenaed. Either DOJ, closed doors, or in front of Congress. I don't know, but his pardon mandates, well, it doesn't mandate, but it takes away his ability to plead the Fifth. He cannot take Fifth Amendment rights because there is no self-incrimination if you're pardoned preemptively. And Trump has alluded that he has the only legit pardon. And so the Ukraine, there's a few things that have to happen, and that's why I think this is important right here. The Ukraine war has to end first and foremost, because I think there's a lot of people in Hunter's sphere, in the Hunter realm, change the word. There's a lot of people in the Hunter realm that are in Ukraine that would be complicit in this. That could testify against this, that may be held up by the war, and also maybe restrained by the current administration in Ukraine. And we know when this war ends, Zelensky's out. He's already over a year past his last election. He hasn't won an election in over a year. And so that's just my opinion. And again, I base this on the Blue Star Strategy, Sally Painter, Vadim Pizarski, when he was going back and forth with them. Do you understand the contract? Do you understand what we're promising? Yes, a top U.S. official to come over here and try and convince to let the Zlochevsky go, the CEO of Burisma, to drop the investigation. And of course, this is all in the same timeline that we got Joe Biden going over there and saying the son of a bitch was fired, the $1 billion loan guarantees, right? This implicates Obama, by the way, because Biden says up on the stage, he says, you don't have the authority to do that. Only the president can do that. And he says, here, call him. Obama knows. So, again, none of that has come. And that is low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, because it's all documented in that laptop. It's low-hanging fruit. But nothing's happened on it. Why? I got to imagine it's because we need two things to happen. First, the Ukraine war has to go bye-bye. Second, the preemptive pardons need to be invalidated. They need to be, and this is broadly, before you're going to get any of these major arrests, the pardons have to be delegitimized. And again, I think that's why Hunter's is the only one that Trump keeps pointing to and saying that one is legitimate, because they need Hunter Biden's testimony. I don't think Hunter Biden accidentally dropped his laptop full of all of that incriminating evidence. I don't think he accidentally dropped his laptop at John Paul Macazaic, the probably the only legally blind computer repairman in the world. Okay, not probably, but he's in a single-digit %, I bet, of blind, and I bet he's probably the only one up in the area where it was dropped off in, where was it, Delaware? He's probably the only one there. And he's the only one that could, not be able to accurately identify the man who dropped it off and only go by what it said on the paper. I don't know. But I think at some point very soon, when those things happen, the end of the Ukraine war, we're going to see Hunter Biden testify. And that leads me to this story here. So the CNN piece right there, $8 billion that Congress has voted for to send to Ukraine. It's not going to happen. Trump's going to veto it, I'm sure. It won't make it out of the Senate, I'm sure. But Zelensky feels empowered. The Kyiv Independent, enough of the war. Zelensky throws down gauntlet to Putin in an open letter. And here is the translation of the open letter. I asked ChatGPT to translate it. To the President of the Russian Federation, from the President of Ukraine. When you took charge of Russia more than 26 years ago, many people in Ukraine viewed you positively. That was true. This is now the past. Today, the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians view positively the fact that our long-range drones visited the opening of your forum in St. Petersburg, having traveled more than 1,000 kilometers. As you well know, that distance is not the limit of our capabilities. This is a fucking threat. This is little midget man, Zelensky, little dancing gay guy in the high heels and the assless chaps that wears the olive drab like a frickin' retard everywhere he goes, trying to pretend like he's some badass war fighter. This is him feeling empowered. This isn't a letter out to Putin saying, "Hey, let's seriously sit down and let's talk this out, and let's have a man-to-man conversation about this, and let's see if we can settle our differences." This is him taunting Putin. This is not a letter to go well. Listen. As you well know, that distance is not the limit of our capabilities. Your 26 years in power have completely changed the agenda of relations between Ukraine and Russia. From discussions about trade and other civilian matters, our peoples have moved exclusively to the subjects of strikes and losses. You have spent almost half of your 26 years in power in Russia at war against Ukraine. Whatever you say about NATO, geopolitics, and the Russian language, this war is your personal choice. A war without real cause. That is how history will remember it. This time could have unfolded very differently. We often hear that the war suits you. Of course, not when it comes to the security of your residence in Valdai or the parade in Moscow. Your own life is valuable to you. But now we all see that it is finally ceasing to suit Russians as well. That the war is bringing more and more negative consequences to Russia. They do not like our drones and missiles. They do not like gasoline shortages and constantly rising prices. They do not like the constant restrictions. They do not like your intentions to organize a second wave of mobilization in order to expand the war in another direction in Ukraine or against other countries neighboring Russia. They do not like that there is no end in sight to your war. Yes, you can still force Russians to live this way, but your resources are shrinking significantly. You will not have enough money or political strength to keep buying the loyalty of Russians as you have done for 26 years. We will do everything possible to ensure the world understands this. As you yourself say, everything must be calculated. Yesterday, I received a report on your army's losses on the front in Ukraine during May. Once again, it was more than 30,000 Russians killed or seriously wounded. We maintain roughly that figure every month. And for every one of your losses, we have video confirmation. It is not merely a claim. We know that 63% of your battlefield losses are killed and only 37% are wounded. In the 21st century, armies cannot afford such a ratio. The share of those killed will continue to grow. If it is not that we in Ukraine are worried about Russians, after everything your war has brought up upon Ukraine, but I care about Ukrainians. We are losing our people, and every loss hurts. Even when Ukraine losses are 1-5 or 1-6 compared with Russian losses, it still matters greatly. As does the fact that you now regularly, every few months, postpone your deadlines for capturing our regions. Above all, Donetsk Oblast. You will not capture it this year either. But we in Ukraine do not want a permanent war. We know very well that life without war is immeasurably better. We want to achieve that. I'm convinced that most Russians are ready to give a positive response to this, and you know it. Many did not believe Ukraine would hold out this long in defense. You did not believe it. Neither did those advising you. That was a mistake. You did not expect full-scale resistance from Ukraine and did not foresee things going this far. Yet here we all are in the 5th year of full-scale confrontation. Don't be afraid to leave the war. That is the main thing required of you now. Ukraine has preserved its independence, and it will preserve it despite any other predictions. We united many around the world in defense of Ukraine and against you. We found weapons and financing. We received support. You received sanctions, and this will continue until there is justice for Ukraine, the justice we seek, and that can be achieved. All right, we can land that there. You get the point. He is not a happy man. He is feeling empowered. He is feeling empowered. He feels like somehow he has the power to be able to say this now. And I don't know if it's because the Congress just voted again to send $8 billion to Ukraine. It will not go anywhere, but maybe that's what it was. He felt like he made some progress, but you know, the Ukraine war, man, it's one of those things. It's one of those things, like it's up there with the anti-weaponization fund. It's up there with the Bill Pulte thing. It's one of those things where they cannot let it, like they are deranged over it. The weaponization fund can't pass. Bill Pulte can't be ODNI. We must continue the war in Ukraine. Deranged about it. Here is this is what's her name? Madeline Dean arguing with Rubio. This will set up the USAID clip here.
Propaganda ain't going to work with me.
Well, it isn't going to work with me either, and what you're saying is propaganda.
Nearly 1,400 people were killed, and that was as of last March. Secretary Rubio, why did the State Department approve the $30 million to GHF at a time when other well-tested agencies were there and able to provide distribution?
Well, because one of those were in cahoots with Hamas, and we saw an incredible amount of the aid flow into Hamas's hands.
Reclaiming my time, the aid was held up at the border by Israel, and you know it. You guys got to fix your rules here. You can't even answer a question. You're not following the rules. You're very familiar with how this works.
No, I don't. I never served in the House. This is a weird rule where you ask a question and I can't answer.
Would you please add time to the clock?
Nope.
He's a comedy show over there.
I'd say on the
This is serious stuff.
I agree. That's why I shouldn't have to answer questions about shoes.
Mr. Rubio, according to public reporting, 9 counterterrorism and anti-fraud safeguards were waived to approve this. I wonder who specifically made the decision. I wonder, were you aware of this decision? I'm not asking you a question. And was there any written justification?
Those were all questions. I'm not asking you a question. I'm going to stand up here and grandstand, and I'm going to shut you up when you try and say something back. And that's the only point. That's the only point. This whole thing is a shit show. So they're talking about the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, and it's a group, a private group that's going over there and was distributing food in Gaza. And I mean, look, I don't know one way or the other whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, but I know that prior to that, the UN was doing it, and the UN was using NGOs and nonprofits to do the same exact thing that they're claiming the GHF fund did, but this time the money went to the UN, and then the UN was distributing it out from there. And so, you know, again, I'm not a big fan of Gaza. I've said publicly, and I still believe that Israel went way too far with Gaza, way too far. And you will not convince me. I've been to war. I know the rules of war. I've seen what warfare looks like. I've seen what a superpower versus a third world country looks like. And it does not look like what they did to Gaza, period. Plain and simple. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. And this is somebody with combat experience. But that being said, the UN is not the most favorable of entities to be handing out this funding. And Rubio, when he says that, you know, they're in cahoots with Hamas, there is truth to that. UNRWA, UN aid that's been going on over there, the NGOs, they want to continue to prop up that war. It's not, and I'm not saying like every NGO, that's their mission statement, but you get entities that are in there that are doing that. And so they're smuggling supplies to Hamas. They're smuggling supplies, to checkpoints that are controlled by Hamas. And so, again, I don't see any problem with trying something new. And when the establishment bucks against that, the reason they're bucking against that is because you're disrupting the status quo. You're disrupting the way that things have gone for eternity, and eternity has us in the predicament that we're in now. So something has to give, and that's going to lead us to this testimony here on USAID. And this is the most important moment, in my opinion, in the entire Rubio hearing.
Was right to the criticisms that I keep hearing from that side over there about us not spending the money because we got rid of a USAID program. USAID basically was a program, was a system that was completely devoid of our public policy. It operated almost as an independent State Department, and oftentimes USAID was operating in contravention and contradiction of what the embassy was trying to accomplish in the host country. And one of the complaints you would get from many developing countries is that they would get flooded with NGOs that were picked for them. These NGOs would then operate in the country without even coordinating with the government, doing whatever they wanted and pursuing what they wanted. And in some cases, it extended well beyond food and medicine. It extended to political interference and all sorts of other activities in these countries that were undermining the national interest and the credibility of the United States. Now, these compacts in particular are promising and exciting because they are government-to-government arrangements. No longer do we put money into a bucket and says, this is for vaccines, or this is for medical care, or this is for standing up clinics globally. We are doing it individually, country by country. And the reason why that makes sense is because every country has unique needs. Some country may need more help in some area than in others. But at the core of this arrangement that we're making with countries is their desire and our goal to ultimately help them build their own national health systems so that eventually they no longer are dependent on foreign aid.
Amen. Amen. Taking out the third party, the public-private partnership in dealing with these NGOs, taking the money out of those systems, that is, I mean, and he's talked about this before. This is not a novel concept with this administration. This is not anything brand new, and the government-to-government contracting on this would be phenomenal. And Rubio lays it out there. We've all said the USAID is essentially a funding arm, an operational arm of the CIA, National Endowment funding. Anytime you see these State Department agencies that are involved in foreign influence in third world countries, color revolutions, et cetera, anything with the press, man, the list goes on. Like you don't even understand how many of these bureaucratic entities and NGOs actually exist that act as the operational arms of the CIA, of the deep state. There are thousands of them. And every time, like when Trump was first starting and he was defunding them, and we'd be reading through the executive order defunding them, we'd be like, oh shit, I didn't even know that thing existed right there. I didn't even know that thing existed. Here's Bill Keating talking about Ukraine with Rubio.
I'm sure you're aware that Ukraine, the country at the time with the third largest nuclear arsenal, peacefully turned over their nuclear weapons in conjunction with the Budapest Memorandum, and in exchange for the U.S. commitment to defend Ukraine if it ever came under threat. The U.S. gave their word to Ukraine they would defend them. And I found this amazing. In your opening remarks, as you took us all over the world, and you mentioned 15 different incidents where you have interceded. 15, the top 15. Not once did you mention Ukraine.
Oh, no!
When you were prioritizing the achievement that's there. Now let me go on.
Tried to stay under
Let
5
me go
minutes.
on. Oh, you tried to stay, yeah. Please.
Well,
it's not funny. It's not funny, Secretary. Now,
what's not funny
in
is
Iran
that-
now.
Well, you don't.
In
this
Iran
you
now,
can't even
I
answer
reclaim
questions
my
here.
time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman.
You guys
I reclaim my time.
He is interrupting me.
Fucking retards.
Do something about it.
Do something about it.
I'm asking you to reclaim those seconds back.
Do something about it. Let's fight. I love it.
Now in Iran, what goes around comes around, Mr. Chairman.
That's a
now
threat.
in Iran, the Trump administration issues a general license to Russia, providing billions in oil profits every month, several billion every month, fueling Putin's war machine. You didn't mention that in your opening remarks. And then this is a war of aggression of Russia attacking Ukraine, which we gave our agreement. And this is to a country that's assisting us in Iran, Ukraine, and helping a country with a war machine that are aiding Iran against us and putting our service members in jeopardy.
We also agreed.
We have an opportunity as members.
We also agreed in that memorandum that we would not interfere in Ukraine, and we have done nothing but interfere in Ukraine. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Today, to vote on the Ukraine Support Act. I hope we do it, and I am confident that we have bipartisan support. But I hope this administration will act on its own. They can do things themselves that you didn't mention, like rescind these general licenses, complete a bilateral drone agreement with Ukraine, provide direct military assistance that has access to the Ukraine, implement comprehensive sanctions packages,
Representative time has expired.
For dang old Aggie.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
Representative Smith
Mr.
of
Chairman,
New Jersey
for taking
is
up
recognized.
my time and squandering it. That's not how a chairman should act.
Representative Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, if you need a moment to respond to it.
Well, I also didn't mention Cuba because I literally hand wrote what I was going to say to you guys, and I told you I was going to submit the written for the record, and I think everybody understands Cuba's a priority for me. Just on the Ukraine front, I'll address it now if it's okay with your time that I could do so. I think it's well documented that we've been very involved in trying to get the two sides to the table. We've invested a lot of time in it. Unfortunately, so to this point, neither side has been willing to make concessions, particularly on the Russian side, necessary in order to bring peace about. We remain ready to play any role we can in that context of bringing a peace about, because we think the war in Ukraine, devastating war, has no military solution. It can only be solved through a diplomatic route, and it's been unfruitful. I would characterize it as the ongoing challenges. That said, let's be clear, we are not, to be fair and to be frank, we are not impartial mediators in that war, okay? We don't provide weapons to Russia. We only provide weapons to Ukraine. We don't impose sanctions on Ukraine. We only impose sanctions on Russia. So we have clearly taken a side. We continue to sell weapons to Ukraine, by the way, through the Pearl program, unimpeded by what's happened in the Middle East or anywhere else. And look, we'd love to see that come to a negotiated settlement. As of right now, the prospects don't look great that either side is prepared to make the concessions necessary in order to reach an agreement. But we stand ready, and we've engaged and invested a tremendous amount of high-level time on that conflict over the last year. I think it's a source of frustration for the world. Hopefully this year will bring better news. I don't have any news for you on that front today, but we are ready. As I've expressed to both sides repeatedly, we're ready to step in and play whatever positive role we can to bring that devastating and escalating war to an end.
Oh, so when you let him actually speak, you get that. But Keating didn't want to. He wanted to get up there and grandstand and accuse Rubio of not caring about the war in Ukraine, when in reality, it's not a war. He laid it out beautifully. It's not a war that can be won militarily. It has to be won diplomatically. And as long as we are rallying behind Ukraine the way that these retards in our Congress do, and there's a reason for it. We all know the reason for it, right? Victoria Nuland, the biolabs, the U.S. influence over there, the pass through for the EU and for NATO to usher goods through Ukraine into Russia, to use Ukraine as a spy hub for Russia, the biolabs that are developing biological weapons against Russia. There's all sorts of reasons. Right, the Maidan Revolution, the Orange Revolution. We've conducted 2 coups in Ukraine. In both coups, we put the favorable Western leader in power. The first in the Orange Revolution, it was the guy. What was the guy's name that got the face all burned up? And then he got poisoned. His face got off. What was his name? I can't remember it off the top of my head. He came over to the United States. Then he studied under Bush. He worked under Bush, and then he goes back over there. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Then we have, You know, the Maidan Revolution, same concept over there, right? You get rid of, wow. It's been so long since I've done this. Not Poroshenko. Poroshenko was the replacement. Yanukovych. Viktor Yanukovych. You oust him unconstitutionally. You install Poroshenko. Eventually you get to Poroshenko. There was an intermediary in between there. You know, Saakashvili, the former Georgian president, another Bush accolade, you know, that studied under Bush. You know, he gets ousted from Georgia, criminally charged in Georgia, and then ends up the mayor of Odessa in Ukraine. I mean, the whole fucking thing is just absolutely ripe with U.S. interference, intelligence, everything else. Kirchhoff. Was it Kirchhoff? Now, no. Kirchhoff? No, it was Yushchenko. Viktor Yushchenko. This guy. Right here, and that's the poisoning. After it was all done. Yushchenko. And, you know, if you look at the history on him, he studied, where did he study in the U.S.? Hold on, I'll find it. Early life. No. He came to the United States. This is like the music in the background. All right, I'm not going to go off on this. 2010 presidential election, maybe it was there. The Euromaidan, that's the Maidan Revolution, Color Revolution. Crimea isn't Russian. Crimea, it's not Russian. All right, we can land that there. You guys get my point, though. We have been fucking around with Ukraine for ages. All right, let's get into the election now. Big movement out of that. Let's get into. Oh well, let's use this to segue into the election. This is the retardation of Representative Jacobs, deranged lunatic leftist, talking to the Secretary of State. You know, not somebody that's supposed to be involved in U.S. in domestic affairs, but here you go.
Last question for you. Mr. Secretary, who won the 2020 presidential election?
I'm not here to answer a question. We're talking about 2020. This is a foreign affairs committee.
Okay, great. You can't answer the question, even though we all know that President Biden won. I don't answer the question
because the Secretary of State, I do not participate in domestic political issues.
This is not about domestic political issues. This is about our democracy.
You're asking me to opine, just like I don't do campaign rallies.
It seems like
I don't do because as Secretary of State, we're not supposed to. That's been the long tradition of the department, and you should know that if you've been on this committee for any period of time.
Mr. Secretary, it seems like you have an issue admitting facts. You can't say that the president lost the 2020 election, just like you won't admit President Trump is losing this reckless war of choice, and just like you couldn't admit that the shoes the president bought you were too big. You clearly don't know what winning means, and not because the facts are unclear to you, it's because telling the truth would cost you your job, and the American people are entitled to a Secretary of State who tells them the truth even when the president doesn't want to hear it, and my constituents, our service members, deserve better. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I don't know what shoes she's talking about. What is she talking about?
Representative Burchett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'd like to answer any of that.
Yeah, I don't know about the shoes. I mean, he gave me some Florsheim shoes. They're actually pretty good. They fit fine. I don't know what she's talking about, and maybe that's what she's referring to.
Your shoes look very nice today, Mr. Secretary.
Well, how can you see them? They're way down here. We're talking about shoes. Are you guys kidding me? I mean, is this the Foreign Affairs Committee, or is this like a circus? What is this?
I think it's a circus.
That was epic.
But I appreciate
That was epic. That was just epic. Is this the Foreign Affairs Committee or is this a circus? Okay, so we're going to get into the election, but I want to build up to it a little bit here. So we got this story here from the Washington Post. CIA officer who had millions in gold bars accused of creating fake spy program. We talked about this story. I think we got to this story last week on the Week in Review in the discombobulated 3-part series of the Week in Review. But we did get to this story. David Rush, this guy, freaking bonkers. This story just gets even weirder. Now, granted, this is the WAPO, and it's some sources familiar, so take it with a grain of salt. But the fact that WAPO is putting this out, you have to kind of wonder why. It says the former CIA senior official with more than $40 million worth of gold bars in his house. He also had 35 Rolex watches, $2 million in cash, and 303 gold bars. Created a fake, highly classified intelligence program that he used as a conduit to funnel millions of dollars for his personal use. David Rush constructed what is known as a special access program, a sort of black box for the most secret intelligence operations. Even intelligence personnel with the highest security clearance cannot access an individual special access program, as they are known, without specific authorization. Rush, quote unquote, read in 2 colleagues into the highly secretive sham program and persuaded one of them to transfer millions of dollars to the program via government contract that was also fraudulent. Rush, who worked in the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology, was a flight risk, so a judge has ruled that he remains detained. Somebody keep that guy alive. I want to know what he knows. The CIA has put several agency officials on leave as the FBI spy agency investigation continues. It remains unclear how Rush could single-handedly create a quote-unquote black box for a fictional spy program without sign-off from his superiors. That is a very valid question. How were you able to? How was a CIA officer able to create a special access program and fund it with millions of dollars without a superior signing off on this program? One of the people familiar with the probe said that Rush's fake program involved, quote, continuity of government operations, programs to keep the U.S. federal government running in the event of a nuclear war, natural disaster, or other catastrophes, such as a stolen 2020 election. Devolution has entered the CIA gold bars case. I mean, continuity of government, very interesting that that's what this special access program is involved in. Very interesting. Hold on, gotta sneeze. According to former U.S. officials and others familiar with the issue, Rush's duties at the CIA included involvement in one of the government's most sensitive intelligence gathering programs, a project so secret that only a handful of U.S. intelligence officials and lawmakers knew of its existence. Separate from the fake project, Rush allegedly created. So this guy was in a top tier. Only a handful of people in the government know about this program. And he was read in on this. Now, this is the part where this is like, what the fuck? This is the part where it's like, what the fuck, okay? And here's why. This guy got into the CIA with a fake background. He applied 3 times over the course of 9 years. The first time saying he went to Clemson. The second time saying he went to Rensselaer Tech, a tech school. And then the third time saying that he did all those things and he went in the Air Force and he flew as a naval test pilot and all this other shit. And it was all false. He was able to, so again, he was able to get into the CIA on false pretenses with a fake identity. He was able to get into the CIA with none of this stuff being real. Then not only was he able to get into the CIA with fake stuff, which never should happen, and obtain a top secret clearance, which should never happen, Anybody that's been through a secret clearance or a top secret clearance screening knows that it's not something you can get through unless you're deliberately allowed to get through with a fake identity. So he gets through all of that, gets his clearance, and is in such an elite group that he's able to make special access programs willy-nilly out of thin air without any superior approval, and he's read in on a program that only a handful of government officials are even allowed to know about. None of that story makes fucking sense. None of that story makes sense. At all. I'm not saying Washington Post is lying. I'm not saying that there's more to this story, but there's absolutely more to this story. Also, we will never know about any of it. This whole story is just going to be a narrative that we're told. We will never know the truth about David Rush and what this guy did and what this guy was capable of and how this guy was able to pull it off and why he was able to pass through the CIA with a fake fucking identity. You can't do that. There's literally no way to do it. I'm not saying that, you can't allow that to happen. It can't happen. They would have interviewed his professors in a top secret clearance. They would have interviewed his family, his neighbors, his ex-girlfriends, his ex-boyfriends if he's gay, I don't know. His professors, his former employers, if he was in the Air Force, his commanding officer, his squad leader, his oh my God, like there's no possible way. There's no possible way that this guy could pull this off. Impossible. So, that tells you something else is going on there. Wall Street Journal, Trump urges less shackled Bill Pulte to fire intelligence community employees. Again, I don't think that this is Pulte's objective. President Trump said he wants Bill Pulte, his incoming acting DNI, to begin firing a large number of employees as part of a shakeup. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Trump said he has privately told Pulte that he believes the ODNI, which oversees blah, blah, blah. I don't have the rest of that article, and I couldn't care less. I don't think that that's the objective of Bill Pulte. I think Pulte is there to investigate the Sinaloa cartel and their involvement in mortgages in the United States. That's my take. Wrecking shop and firing a bunch of people could also be part of that, right? Getting fresh eyes on how it's run, getting somebody that doesn't have intelligence experience but has corporate experience and managerial experience. Yeah, absolutely could be. But I think that there's, I said this on Friday that I think this is Trump giving Pulte the keys to the Ferrari and saying, take it out for a spin, do whatever you want to it, have fun, and bring it back at the end of the day. And now it's full-blown Ferris Bueller, and he's going to wreck the car. And then they're going to put it, they're going to put it on the blocks and try and drive it in reverse to reverse the mileage, and then he's going to wreck the car. And Trump is telling him to wreck the car. Or Risky Business, where he drives the Porsche into the ocean, into the bay.
Pulte is the acting director of national intelligence. There's been a little bit of a pushback from some Senate Republicans. Why do you think, Mr. President, he's the best person for the job?
Well, he's very smart. He's a person who's got high integrity. He's done a phenomenal job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. You probably have $1 trillion in value there. When he took over, it was much less. And I guess I'm responsible for that, too, because everybody wanted me to sell it in my first term for 10% of what it's worth right now. If I would have sold it, we would have lost $900 billion. We would have lost, think of it, it's probably worth $1 trillion. And I was offered, people want me to sell it at $100 billion, a very small percentage of what it's worth now. So, and he built it up a lot, did a great job. And it's an acting position. It's not a permanent. He's not going to be permanent because, I don't think he'd want to be permanent. But he's a very smart guy, and he may find out some things about the rigged elections, et cetera, et cetera. I think he'd like to do it. I think he wants to do it very much. Got a lot of energy. But he'll be very good. Again, it's not a permanent position. We're interviewing people right now, but it's somebody just to take it over for a little while.
Does he have the necessary, in your view, Mr. President, the necessary national security experience to take on that position?
Well, I do, and I think he does, actually, because he's smart, because a lot of national security, I wasn't greatly experienced in national security, and I think I've done a really great job with it. A lot of people would say that I've ended 8 wars.
All right. So I'm there with him. I'm there with him. That was my first thought, is Trump was not a politician. He was not a national security guy, although I think he was an informant. But he did not have that experience, and look what he's been able to do. You need the fresh eyes. You need the fresh eyes. And Trump is saying right there, the election, you might find out some stuff about the elections. Well, that is fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. D&I Gabbard did that hearing. She did a hearing from Maricopa County several months back. We live streamed it, and undisclosed location, had to bus in all of the reporters, wouldn't tell them where it was, wouldn't let them go there on their own, had to bus them in, just like the event we did in Arizona back in 2022. It is downright, it is very interesting. It is very, very interesting. All right, let's go ahead and hit another sponsor here. Stand by. All right, there we go, guys. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part that most people miss. Crypto was created so you actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. Instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you are in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, well, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. You get to choose what you want, whether it's Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and boom, you are in the game. In just a few minutes, you go from actually hearing about crypto to actually owning some. And now is a great time. Crypto's taking a little bit of a hit right now. Buy the dips, man. Buy the dips, stack the sats. Great opportunity right here. So there we go. Let's go ahead and get back into we played that clip. So they're freaking out about Pulte. Senator Mark Warner's introduced an amendment to bar Senate-confirmed leader of a federal agency or department from serving simultaneously as acting director. I don't think it passed. I think it was 49-49 party lines. Some people remained out, but this is clearly targeting Bill Pulte. Basically, he's staying in as FHFA, Federal Housing Authority, Financing Authority. So he is staying in at FHFA and the other org, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all that. And Trump is basically saying you're DNI and you're FHFA. I do think that there's going to be some investigations into the mortgage fraud thing. All right, so let's go into the election in California, because we're watching a crime in real time. So earlier last week, New York Post reports that Spencer Pratt has now taken the lead in the mayor's race poll, and then President Trump came out over this week talking about the Save America Act, and I think there might be a little bit of momentum for passing that now. But check this out.
So you have all voters must show photo ID, identification. All voters must show a little thing called proof of citizenship. Would you say that's 99-1, Mr. Pennsylvania?
I would say that's maybe 100 to 0.
I would think so. They say
At least it should be.
No, but they say it's 80-20. It's not 80-20. It's 99. And we've never found the one person. There's another one. Then you have no mail-in ballots, but we want to be liberal, as they say, or we'll say we want to be progressive. So it's no mail-in ballots. You see that's what's happening in California. They're rigging the election. Now, maybe we caught them, and maybe they won't be able to get away with it. They tried with me. They did it successfully the second time. The third time, we made it too big to rig. Too many votes. They couldn't do it. They can only go. They sort of gave up at about 9:07 when they got slaughtered with the votes that came in. But no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. So we're being very progressive. And we just don't want cheating in our elections. And you see it happening in California. Those numbers are coming down rapidly. They found a lot of mail-in ballots last night, shockingly. So we don't want that. Then we added best of. This is best of Trump. No men in women's sports. No transgender mutilization surgery for our children. I would say that's pretty close to 99-1 also.
Again, it's not 99-1. Me and Chris talked about this on Friday. That right there, that the amendment that Trump has added to the Save America Act and the transgender in the sports, that is what is being used to stop the Democrats from that's giving them the ammunition to stand against this bill, because it's not 99-1 in their party. That is their foundation on what they run on. Now, granted, I think most common sense Americans would agree with those things. No transgender for kids, no men in women's sports. Most Americans would agree with that. The Democrats, that's not their platform. That's what they run on, those concepts. And so they're not going to pass this bill because it takes away, they're arguing their point. Now, that's the overt war that Trump is running on the Democrats, because I still believe that Democrat voters are like, yo, we agree with those things. Like no men in women's sports and no transgender for kids. Most Democrats would still agree with that. But it's enough to keep the Democrats from buying into it. The Republicans not buying into it is because of the rigged elections, because they're beneficiaries of rigged elections. And that is where, when Trump says, kill the filibuster to get this passed, when Trump says put this on a reconciliation bill, when Trump says all these things to get it passed and they push back against him, that is the covert war. When people look at this and they say, why will the GOP do nothing about this, and something that 83, 87, 90%, even if it's 51% of Americans agree with, bipartisan, why won't they do anything? That's part of the war right there. And now what Trump's doing is he's saying, look at California, guys. Everything in the Save America Act would help California. I'm not saying that it would make California better, but it would help. There's big cheating by the Democrats in California. Votes are still all tied up. May not be in for weeks. Under investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles. Why the vote counting delay? President DJT. Another one. Watch California, everybody. He's telling you, watch California. Our election process is as bad or worse than any third world country. In fact, most third world countries have biometric check-in, by the way. Just throwing that out there. The big, not saying that that's a good thing necessarily, but it's more secure than what we have. And they also don't have mail-in voting. The biggest difference is they count their votes much faster. They don't wait 7 days to tell you who won, rigging the election during each and every one of them. Americans are ashamed of what is happening. President Donald J. Trump. Then we have this video here. We played this on Friday on Why We Vote. All shows are Why We Vote now on Badlands Daily. This is the Sheriff's Department bringing in ballots by helicopter.
The LA County Sheriff's Department is flying in ballots from vote centers across the region. You can see the choppers landing right now. We're standing in the parking lot of the LA County Registrar's Ballot Processing Center. They land right here in the middle, and then you see workers, they're standing by to pick up those ballots and take them inside. They're picking up ballots from 8 cities, including Lancaster, Santa Clarita, Palmdale, Lakewood, Santa Monica, Van Nuys, Pomona, and Torrance. Once they arrive, the ballots are securely transferred inside, where election workers are receiving and processing millions of ballots. While most ballots are transported by vehicle, election officials use helicopters to bring in ballots from some of the county's farthest vote centers.
I mean, it's a dog and pony show to show. We're doing this as quickly as we can, guys. Give us some time. Cut us some slack. We're doing it. Look. We're using helicopters again. Sheriff Luna is on the ballot. The sheriff is on the ballot, and the sheriff's department is taking helicopter trips with ballots in them. Again, I'm not saying that the deputies on there are doing anything shady, but I don't know. Here was President Trump talking about elections with Miranda Devine this week.
There's a lot of problems inside.
Look, we had a rigged election. We can't have a rigged election.
No.
You know, we can be nice about it. We can be politically correct. Or, I don't want to say. I used to say that a year and a half ago. The election was rigged, and the cameras would literally turn off.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the anchor would say, "Sir, you're not allowed to say that. You're not." Now nobody ever turns off the camera because it's been proven to be rigged. Look at what happened in Georgia. Look at all the stuff that we found out. It was a rigged election. Biden lost in a landslide.
Yeah.
And it's, to think that this could happen. Now, because of that, we have Russia, Ukraine. That would have never happened with me. Because of that, we had open border with 25 million, in many cases, criminal, not all.
And fentanyl deaths.
Everything.
Yeah.
He was a worse president, and we were laughed at all over the world as a country. We're not laughed at anymore. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
So
we're
how
the most successful country anywhere.
So someone has to be punished, though, for that. So how do you do that?
Well, I
you
don't
don't
want
have
to
to
get
punish
into
them
it.
all.
Yeah, I know. I'd rather not get into it, but
Are you confident something will happen?
I don't want to talk about it. But let's see what happens. The election was rigged. We know who rigged the election. We know it. We know everything now. We have information that nobody thought was possible, but when you get to office, all of a sudden people start giving you things. It was I'll tell you, 2024 was a great election. That was a lot. There's a lot of rigging going on there too. Because you know what? I won in a landslide, but there were areas that were just rigged. I could see it. Rigged. In other words, rigged against me.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And Miranda Devine plays along the whole time with that. She plays along the whole time. I don't know where Miranda Devine. I mean, I think she obviously uncovered the laptop from hell, and she's a fantastic reporter. I don't know where she sits on the intricacies of election fraud, but she goes along with it in the story there. And Trump, it's amazing when you're in office, they give you everything. They want to give you stuff. Fulton County, Maricopa County, Puerto Rico, Georgia, Michigan. A lot of these places gave stuff up. And then not wanting to say, we got him. We know who they did it. We know who rigged it. And asking, is there going to be accountability? He doesn't want to say. I'm bullish. I'm bullish. Microdosing hopium. This is from Patch. Pratt's lead shrinks again as online bettors back Rahman for the runoff spot. And of course they want Rahman to be in the runoff spot because they don't want 5 more months of Spencer Pratt hammering Karen Bass. The Bass hole, right, as he called her. They don't want that. They have to get him out. They need him shut up. Look at it now. 28. She is down less than 3%. Less than 3%. That number is dropping. Pratt on Friday had a 20,000 vote lead over Rahman from 33,000 votes the day before. She made up 13,000 vote difference. Doesn't mean they counted 13,000. She made up a 13,000 vote difference in one day. One day. Absolutely crazy. I think this is 2020 all over again on a micro scale. California, specifically Los Angeles, and this is 2020 all over again. Like if you needed any the counting forever, This is 2020 all over again.
We are at LA County's massive processing center. This is the location where all of the ballots are supposed to be shipped and counted. And in the latest ballot dump, LA County says it processed 81,000 votes since the first big election night numbers, but there's still 688,000 to go. Karen Bass is strengthening her lead, picking up about 12,000 votes yesterday. Spencer Pratt added about 6,000 and remains in second. Third place, Nithya Raman added nearly 11,000 votes, eating away at Pratt's lead. Now, in the governor's race, an estimated 60% of the vote is processed. Republican Steve Hilton remains number one. Democrat Javier Becerra picked up 158,000 votes and is closing in on Hilton within about 1 percentage point. Democrat Tom Steyer in third. Now, the most recent mail-in ballots that were processed are favoring Democrats, as many analysts suggested they would. Inside the ballot processing center here in LA County, any ballot that was postmarked by Election Day Tuesday must be counted by law. The process takes so long in part because each ballot must have its signature verified, and if there's an issue, there's a 10-day period to have it cured. California's Secretary of State is defending it all, writing, "Accuracy comes before speed." California is the nation's largest voting state with millions of ballots to process and count. Taking the time to do this work correctly protects voters' rights and ensures the integrity of our election. Now, the state of California, statewide, says it still has 3.6 million ballots left to be counted. So at this rate, it is very likely that we'll be standing here on Monday, reporting to you on Monday, with many more ballots to be counted.
On Monday, you'll be reporting that Raman has overtaken Spencer Pratt. Now, I saw somebody in the chat say Steve Hilton's probably going to lose too. I don't think Steve Hilton loses. And here's why. Steve Hilton is not a threat as much as Spencer Pratt is. Steve Hilton, Becerra will go into the general election and probably win that election. You can see, so Hilton is sharing a little bit of the vote share with Bianco, but Becerra is sharing it with Steyer, with a bunch of other Democrats, and I don't know that Hilton could win in the general. I look. And again, I'm putting on my elections are real glasses here for a second, because they're not at all. But I don't think that Hilton is the threat. Spencer Pratt is the threat. Spencer Pratt is saying all the things, and he's got momentum behind him like you could not believe. And people are watching this race, and they need to do everything they can to keep him out of the public for the next 5 months. And that's the key. And Karen Bass is just as threatened by Spencer Pratt as the entire establishment in California. And I think that's the real agenda for them over there. Now, again, this is all fog of war, brand new stuff that's just coming out. But here is U.S. Attorney Rob Renner is in California on the floor of the counting centers.
That would be, I mean, we can't enter the room, but we can point me in the direction where that is. Yeah. So this is our... all
right, Jordan Conradson putting this out on X, or on that's on Rumble. Again, I don't know what that's going to mean. I have no idea. We have to... Rasmussen put this out on X. The Pratt-free LA ballot drop, it didn't happen, but it did happen. And here you go. Let me see. Spencer Pratt got 0 out of 24,000 votes in a late-night LA ballot drop. A guy getting around 30% support got 0 out of 24,000. Astronomically small probability of happening. Impossible. California no longer even hides it. Doors need to be kicked in. Lori Mills says that's not true. Here's this afternoon's numbers and this evening's numbers. This evening's numbers is in the first photo. Okay. So where do we go? We go from 163 to 157. That's a drop. Oh, no. Okay, they're adding there. 12,000 to 183 to 195. So he picked up 6. How many did Raman pick up? Raman picked up 11,000. So she won. She got more votes than that. Oh, she got as many as Bass. Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. Again, there's the problem with all of this stuff is that they make this entire thing so complex. And, you know, elections are my thing, right? Elections, I've been studying elections and the 2020 election specifically for years now. The problem with all of this is it's very difficult and it takes a long time. This is not something that we're going to know. We're not going to know the ins and outs of all of this for several weeks, okay? Maybe even longer than that. Several months. I mean, 2020 election, it took us a very, very, very long time to get all of this figured out. And so, you know, much like James Collier said in his 1980s book and his expose, the interview we played on Why We Vote, the media is complicit in all of this because they play along with all of this. They pretend that they're the arbiters of truth and information, and they're the ones that are going to make the calls. And we have to just kind of go along and get along and trust whatever they tell us. And again, in order to get all this information, it takes people, data analysts, to go through all of the data, to put it into systems and algorithms and formulations and figure out what all of this means. We don't know what it means. First off, they're not even done counting yet. And so when we see these counts coming in, we don't know. So on one hand, we've heard, you know, Spencer Pratt got 0 votes out of 24,000. I've heard Spencer Pratt got 25,000 votes and nobody else got any, almost entirely for Spencer Pratt. I've heard this. Again, all of this is fog of war. It's all fog of war. I think the best thing that could happen here is we kind of sit back, we let this play out. And we've got the chief. We've got the chief in the White House. We've got his team. You know, we'll be digging into this, but like right now to start freaking out over this, we already know elections are stolen, guys. It's not like this isn't debatable. This isn't debatable. We are probably going to watch Spencer Pratt lose over the next 3 or 4 days. He'll probably be out of second place by Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday.
Why would those votes, we don't know what they're going to be, but why would the mail-in votes, the later votes, break for Rahman, possibly? Because that is the pattern in California with this system. I mean, we've seen this now probably for about a decade out there. It's those votes that get tabulated after Election Day. They tend to be, almost always are, heavily Democratic. We've seen this in congressional races in California now over the last decade or so, where on election night we've had cases, a number of them, where the Republican candidate is ahead at the end of election night, and then it's a process over days, sometimes even weeks, in these key congressional races where just with every one of the updates, like you just saw right here in L.A., the Democrats get closer and closer and closer and end up pulling ahead. It's that the Democratic vote, for whatever reason, tends to use the mail a lot more than the Republican voters do, and they tend to send them in much later than the Republican votes do. We've seen this for a long time in California, and it appears we're seeing it again here in this mayor's race.
So this is like an opposite of a Thomas Massie, Ed Gallering situation there, right? Everybody said, you know, when we looked at the numbers and we go back and look at Thomas Massie's race and we're like, hey, Thomas Massie, there's 100% increase in Thomas Massie's primary over previous primaries. So how did Thomas Massie lose? If there's 100% increase and he only saw like a 19% increase in his vote share, how did he lose? Well, you know, and this is what they tell you. Well, all those people, the new voters that came in, voted for Gallering. All the new people that were activated, they were activated by Ed Gallering, and so they came in to vote for him. Oh. And so I guarantee you, if we go back and look at LA's county's mayoral race and we look at previous numbers, there's an exponential increase compared to the 2022 mayoral primary. I'll be willing to bet there's a pretty big increase in votes in the final number counted. And why would that be? It's not because of Karen Bass. It's not because of Thomas Massie. It's because of Ed Gallering, they tell us. It's because of Spencer Pratt. The increased activation is from Spencer Pratt. It is not from Karen Bass's people saying, oh, we really need to get Karen Bass. We're excited about Karen Bass. We need to get out there and get her elected. It's Pratt's people. And I think California might have really fucked up if they try and steal this from Pratt. They might have really shit the bed. And I think they already have. To be clear, I'm not saying that, you know, this is your opportunity to allow this election to run free and fair. I think they've already fucked up. And I think when we start pulling this thing apart, I think we're going to see. So, where are we going to go to next? Love this clip here of Scott Bessent.
Yeah, Are you in favor of eliminating the gas tax?
We have moved to.
Are you in favor of eliminating the gas tax?
We would like to work.
Are you able to answer that, or is that not?
Well, if I'm not interrupted, I can, Congressman.
Well, I'm waiting for your answer.
We have moved. We have asked Congress to move to eliminate the gas tax. That is done through statute.
You have moved that. So you're in favor of eliminating the gas tax?
We have asked for that.
So we can join bipartisanly today because you're in favor to eliminate the gas tax.
Again, the White House has asked for it, sir.
They have?
Yeah.
Why isn't it before the committee for a vote?
I don't run the agenda.
Well, it's good to hear that we're in favor of something that we can work on bipartisanly that will help relieve people who...
That guy he was not expecting that. Why don't you remove the gas tax? Well, why don't you remove the gas tax? Well, we've tried to remove the gas tax. Answer the question. Sir, I'm trying to. We've been trying to remove the gas tax. What? Nuh-uh. Yeah. We've actually, Trump truthed about it. Pretty sure Trump talked about it during an Oval Office meeting about removing the gas tax, as he'll probably bring it down about 20 to 40 cents. No. Yeah. Well, why haven't we passed anything? Because you're an illegitimate body and you're completely and totally tribalistically fucking useless. Because if you do that, it makes Trump look good. And they can't do that. That's the answer. That's the only answer. Also, you're completely illegitimate. So there's two answers actually. All right, as we start to wind down here, love this clip. The reflecting pool, the reflecting pond, got this.
When was the first time you've met or spoken to President Trump?
The day he drove into the reflecting pool. The day he drove into the reflecting pool. It's not a no-bid contract. It was a sole source contract, which means that the government chose the material that they wanted applied, which was polyurea. And from there, they chose the manufacturer of that material, which was rhino linings. We have an estimated 20% margin in there, but that's at the beginning of a job, and that is perfectly normal in this industry.
Well, the President Trump said it's going to cost $1.8 million.
I have no idea where that number came from. The proposal that I gave the government from the day I started talking to them is the same as my contract is today. I've never done work for him, never done work for his companies, never done work for anyone affiliated with any of his companies. This isn't a swimming pool. This is called a primary containment. This is an industrial containment. The swimming pool will be 3 to 12 feet deep and have a light-colored bottom so that you can see the bottom for safety. The reflecting pool is from 6 to 12 inches deep normally, a little deeper in the middle.
This is awesome.
Maybe. And it has a dark bottom so that it reflects a mirror reflection of what is on the other side of that pool, which is exactly what this pool does when it's full of water.
Did you vote for him?
Yes, ma'am, 3 times.
I love that. Oh, so debunking with the contractor of the reflecting pool, debunking all the stories about him. Also debunking this story right here.
A community, a family. And for too long, warmth of a job, an economy, a community, a family, warmth of a job. This
is the media freaking out saying he's sleeping. That story is so retarded, it's not even worth spending time on. Trump was sleeping. Trump was sleeping. Oh my God, that story is so fucking retarded. So retarded. What else do we want to cover? Let's see. Oh, this was pretty badass. Let me see if I've got this saved on Twitter. So check this shit out. This Marine, New York Post put this out. This Marine was former Marine, no such thing, working on his truck, and he gets carjacked by 4 guys in broad daylight. Check this out. He's the guy at the back of the truck. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. They try and rob him at gunpoint. Marine sees a split second where he can disarm him and do some MARSOC, McMap. Boom, Marine Corps. Yeah. Devil dog. Way to be, motherfucker. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That got me motivated this morning. That got me motivated. Right there. Fired up. That devil dog. Get that man a combat action ribbon if he doesn't have one already. All right, guys, let's hit our final sponsor, guys. Real talk for a second. America is about to hit a huge milestone. We're coming up on America's 250th birthday. 250 years of freedom, grit, sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever seen. This is the perfect moment to help your kids understand why this country matters. Not just fireworks and hot dogs, but the story behind it all. There's a free guide called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday, and it's honestly a great way to introduce kids to how America began, who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why the ideas that they fought for still matter today. This guide sends kids back to the moment when brave men signed the Declaration of Independence, knowing full well that they were risking their lives for freedom. It breaks it all down in a way that kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into boring schoolwork. If you care about raising kids who know where this country came from and why it's worth preserving, this is something you want to grab. And the best part, it's completely free. With this special offer, you just pay $2 for shipping and handling. Visit freeusabirthday.com. Again, that's freeusabirthday.com and get the Kid's Guide to America's 250th birthday for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure the next generation knows it. Heck yeah. All right. Last story, because this is a big deal. This is a big deal. We are seeing perhaps
the auto pen. And by the way, you want to make a big...
That's not it, the auto pen. Well, there he goes. I said it's a big deal, but listen to Trump. This is the clip that just auto-played.
Deal out of the auto pen. The auto pen. And by the way, you want to make a big deal out of it.
I was just saying it's a big deal. And President Trump heard me. He's like, hey, it's a big deal. Talking about the auto pen. But no, this is a story I want to get to here. From Axios. You're fucking crazy. Trump fumes at Netanyahu and call on Lebanon. Now, I did not get to talk about this because I was unfortunately I was up in the villages with my stepdad as he passed over to meet Jesus. And I did not get to cover this. And Ash and Ghost and Alpha filled in for me beautifully and did an excellent job. And I did watch the show, and I agree with those stories. And so here we go. You're fucking crazy. Trump fumes at Netanyahu and call on London. President Trump, and this is by Barack Ravid and Mark Caputo, two very interesting characters. If you watch Geopolitics with Ghost or you watch Badlands Daily when Ghost is on, Ravid and Caputo both are I think I align with Ghost on believing that they are in Trump's, or Trump is in their ear. They are kind of a go-between, so to speak. It says President Trump lashed out at Prime Minister Netanyahu over Israel's escalation in Lebanon in an expletive-laden call on Monday. Two U.S. officials and a third source briefed on the call told Axios. Early on Monday, Iran threatened to abandon the negotiations with the U.S. over Israel's action in Lebanon. On the call, Trump called Netanyahu crazy and accused him of ingratitude. According to two other sources, he also put the brakes on Israel's plans to strike Beirut. One U.S. official said that Trump... Hold on, I gotta sneeze. Okay, thank you. One U.S. official said Trump told Netanyahu that following through on his threat to bomb the Lebanese capital would further isolate Israel around the world. Two of the sources said Trump claimed he'd helped keep Netanyahu out of jail, a reference to his support during his corruption trial, which is still ongoing. The day he leaves office, he will be put up. Summarizing Trump's remarks to maybe not the day, but like very soon after, he will have to face that trial. Every time he has a trial, he bombs somebody or something happens or it's an election or whatever. He gets sick, whatever. Summarizing Trump's remarks to Netanyahu, the U.S. official said, "You're fucking crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." A second source briefed on the call said Trump was, quote unquote, pissed and at one point yelled at Netanyahu, "What the fuck are you doing?" The U.S. Let's just go to Marina Devine and see what Trump says about it.
Axios reported that you had a phone call with Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, in which you were angry with him. You said, "Are you effing crazy? What are you effing doing? I helped you stay out of jail." Is that true? Did you speak to him in those terms?
I did. I wouldn't say angry. I was a little bit perturbed at his constantly fighting with Lebanon. You know, at some point I said, "Bibi, we got to stop this. You got to stop it." But I have a very good relationship. We've done well together. He always says we could never have done it, but everybody knows that we could have never done it without the United States. But I've worked very well together. I like Bibi a lot, and I've worked very well with him. We had I'm a wartime president. He's a wartime prime minister. Very important part of the world. And I think we've done, very well. We've gotten along very well.
Axios report.
Miranda Devine is like smiling so big right there because she's like, "This is such a big scoop. This is such a huge scoop." Now listen to how Reuters is reporting it.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has long portrayed himself as being adept in dealing with Donald Trump. But an acrimonious phone call this week with the US president, in which Trump is said to have called Netanyahu effing crazy, has laid bare tensions between the two leaders.
At some point I said, "Bibi, we got to stop this."
Israeli officials have acknowledged that it was the most heated phone call yet. While one official dismissed any suggestion of a material change in the pair's relationship, another said it had politically damaged Netanyahu ahead of elections later this year. Netanyahu, Israel's longest-serving prime minister, has repeatedly clashed with Republican and Democratic administrations. Yet Israel has remained Washington's closest Middle East ally. But Nimrod Gorin, the president of Mitvim, an Israeli think tank, says the differences are now very public.
Disagree.
Unlike in the past, when they were usually quietly managed behind closed doors. Following their call, Trump said Israel and Hezbollah had agreed to stop shooting each other. But it prompted accusations by Netanyahu's political opponents and some within his own government that he had ceded Israel's sovereignty to the US. The wars with Iran and Hezbollah have been widely popular in Israel, including among supporters of Netanyahu's political rivals. Much of the public wants the fighting to continue. That stands in contrast to the US, where many voters, including members of Trump's conservative base, oppose the war. Recent polls show that Netanyahu's coalition government, the most right-wing in the country's history, could fail to win a majority at the next election. According to think tank Gorin, Netanyahu is working to accommodate Trump's demands, as he hopes the president's support will work in his electoral favor. But he adds that some Israelis are not comfortable with the extent Trump appears to be able to influence Israeli military decisions. In contrast, in the US, some Trump critics say that Netanyahu holds outsized influence over US foreign policy. Since the US and Israel opened the war with Iran, Netanyahu has at times said he speaks with Trump almost daily, often characterizing their relationship to the Israeli public as one between peers who make decisions together.
Not anymore. Not anymore. All that's gone. All that's gone. You don't go on a phone call and leak out that you called the prime minister fucking crazy. Unless that's deliberate. And I think it is deliberate. It's that time. People have been saying for so long, Trump is owned by the Israel. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not. You have to tread very carefully in that realm. You have to tread very carefully because they do own our Congress. They don't own Trump, but they own our Congress. Miriam Adelson gave Trump $250 million for the 2024 election. Yeah, she did. And then Trump went over to the Knesset and called her right the fuck out in front of the entire Likud party and the rest of the Knesset. Called her out right in front of them, publicly. I don't know, man. You got to tread lightly. Trump knows how to navigate these situations. I believe Trump knows how to navigate these situations, and that's exactly what he's doing. And I think, I mean, look, in terms of the Iran war, the Lebanon, war, and everything else, yeah, saving Israel for last. Yep, Mjolnir. Love that name, Mjolnir. For those that don't know, Mjolnir is Thor's hammer. Love that name. Yeah, but I mean, as we're on the brink of negotiating this peace deal with Iran, you are going to see the false flags emerge, and I think it's going to be. Iran bombed. We already saw Iran bombed Kuwait's airport. What? Why would Iran bomb Kuwait's airport? Right? But it gets put out there, and the ceasefire gets, threatened, and the United States needs to respond, and blah, 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 blah. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Trump has shown tremendous restraint. I think a lot of that war over there is a lot of propaganda. A lot of it's fake. A lot of it's false flags. A lot of it is psychological operations. There's a reason that we saw the Ghost in the Machine, right? There's a reason we saw the Ghost in the Machine on the naval warships when they first started. There's absolutely a reason for that. You don't put an Army PSYOP group logo on a naval vessel. It doesn't work that way. And so, especially that big. It's not like somebody stuck a little sticker on the ship and it's gone unnoticed for a while. That's deliberately put on that ship. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, let's wrap this up here. We did have some rants, and I think I fucking egg. Did I not pull the rants again? Why? I always pull the rants, and it just, for some reason on this platform, it doesn't do it. So we'll do it the old school way and come all the way up here. And there we go. First rant. I cannot read it because of the thing. I do this every single time because I'm stupid. It looks like... Oh, I feel so bad because I'm not going to be able to read it. I can't read it. I'm sorry, but said, I love the weekend review. Thank you. LKS 9123. Thank you, CannCon. Thank you, CannCon. Thank you, CannCon. 3 times. I think that might have been a problem. I don't know. But thank you so much. LKS 9123. Drop F-bombs, but I can't share it with a lot of my people because they stop hearing you the minute they hear it and reject the message. I know they could be willing to overlook, but they won't. Fuck them. Fuck them. CannCon, remember... Oh, I saw that. That's a tag there. Remember those 127 affidavits in Arizona? I do remember those. I do. I remember a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff is coming back. It's all coming back to us. I think that might have been it for... I think there was one more towards the end here. Angie K, watch what you wish for. The opposite party of Bibi took away everyone's guns, and the 10-7 happened. Bibi gave them back their guns. I could not care less about Israel politics. I could not care less. Both parties are fucking terrible over there. I honestly, I couldn't care less about anything in Israel. Denise Ann, so sorry for your loss of your stepdad, Brian. Sending you prayers. Thank you, Denise. Thank you so much. I had seen something that you ranted, Denise, on last week, and I can't remember, but I think you lost. Did you lose your cat? I think you did, and if that's the case, I'm terribly sorry for your loss. Losing a pet is freaking terrible. I think I saw that you lost your cat. I could be wrong. Yeah, also, I could not care less. The Judeo-Christian PSYOP needs to end. Israel does what Israel does, has no influence on us over here whatsoever, never should have any influence on us. Nothing that any other country does should have any influence on us in terms of their own politics. So, again, I'd say that about Italy, and I'm Italian. I'd say that about Italy. I say that about UK. I say that about China, Russia, all of it. So... Netanyahu, if he's a criminal, he needs to be held accountable. And if you watch the Bibi files, it sure certainly sounds like he needs to be held accountable. 16-year-old cat. Thank you. It's been very difficult. Yeah, I losing an animal, man, is incredibly difficult. Something you expect to be there every single day, and just when it's not there. So God bless you, and thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up. Text CannCon to 35052, guys, if you're interested in diversifying your retirement with gold and silver. Just get the information. You just text that number. They'll send you out the free guide. Figure out if it's worth it. The U.S. dollar is going to crash at some point. Back it up with some gold and silver, guys. Also, MyPillow.com, promo code CannCon, SoftDisclosure.com, promo code CannCon, and MyShroomVibe, promo code CannCon. Check them all out. Check out our sponsors. Support the show, man. I appreciate you guys. I'll probably be on at some point tonight with a gaming stream. I should be. That'll be a Rumble exclusive. If you guys want to hit the thumbs up. Phil Scarborough, did you see that David Archie in Hinds County, Missouri, got his election decertified and nullified due to fraud, and they'll be having a new election? Took him 3 years. I did see that, Phil. I saw the post you tagged me in. I want to do a write-up on that. I've been obviously not in the mood to write anything this week because of my loss, because of my stepdad. But I do want to write something about that. DM me some more information if you've got it. I know we've got an open line over there, so thank you so much. All right, guys. Smash that thumbs up. God bless. Everybody have a great weekend. I probably see you at some point on the gaming stream. I think that's it. Check out the sponsors down below. Follow me on all the socials. Stay frosty. God bless each and every one of you. God bless America. Make the deep state motherfuckers pay for this.
Open your eyes to a new world, which never knew existed.